The first of the Nations Cup, very important competition for global track cycling. It is the start of the road to Paris, and the points earned here by all of the international riders absolutely vital in making selection for the 2024 Paris Olympic Games. It's a magnificent venue and a bustling community here in Jakarta, Indonesia as well. Welcome to the Tissot UCI Nations Cup, the first of for this season. Scott McGrory is my name, alongside Olympic medalist Annette Edmondson. We are so excited to see just what happens out on the boards here.
Oh, I almost got away with the gold medal. Thank you so much. But no, not all of us can do that like you, Scott McGrory. So, no, very excited to be here. First time doing this.
We can cut it for a second. Thank you. Thank you. To 4 minutes.
The Jakarta International Velodrome, the scene of sensational racing over the next couple of days. It is the Tissot UCI Track World Nations Cup, the first of several for the season. So important in the lead up towards the Paris Olympic Games. The points won here are part of the qualification process for the Olympic Games next season. It is a magnificent venue that was constructed for the Asian Games back in 2018. And so many of the riders have been so complimentary of the wonderful velodrome we have here. Super smooth, very fast. And of course, the locals here in Jakarta, Indonesia, have been so very friendly. I'm Scott McGrory, joined in commentary by Annette Edmondson, Olympic medalists. And we're all very excited, Nettie, about what's going to happen here tonight. One of your former teammates there, Cameron Meyer, on the right-hand side, Australian rider, but talking to the British as a coach of the British team.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott, for the introduction. It's very nice to be sitting here in wonderfully warm Jakarta. Selamat malam, anak-anak, ibu-ibu dan bapak-bapak. As you can see here, it is quite strange. We've got Great Britain sitting there. As you said, Cam Meyer, the Australian coach, he would normally be around these girls here. So we have the women's team pursuit finals up first. So we've already gone through the qualification. We've gone through round one. And we've got our final four teams that are up. So the first round is for the bronze, which will be Great Britain versus Australia.
Absolutely. For the first medals to be awarded, competition did start yesterday with the qualifying for the team pursuits, but today is the first time for our broadcast, straight into the medal rounds. And we see Great Britain, which have been so well established over the years in this particular discipline, the team pursuit, over 16 laps, 4 kilometres of the track. And this is going to be a great race between Great Britain and Australia for the bronze. And then we'll see New Zealand, who have been in sensational form through the first two rounds, to be the fastest. They'll be racing for gold up against France. That's to come up next. Men's team pursuit finals tonight as well. Still the first round and then the finals for both men's and women's team sprints. And then we'll finish things up with men's and women's eliminations later on tonight.
Yes, it's all starting. It's very exciting. Here we have our young team of Great Britain. So they were faster in qualifying in round one than the Australian team. So they did a 4:12.863 against Australia's 4:16.2. So I'm sure there's going to be some changes. The Australian team had a peel strategy. So they had one rider do one turn and then peel from start. So I have a feeling they might change things up to try and find those extra seconds.
Change in the team as well for Great Britain, with Nia Evans going out and Sophie Edwards coming in. Evans will be riding the elimination, one of the favourites for that later tonight. Final 5 seconds before the first race tonight here in the Nations Cup in Jakarta. Great Britain on the left, Australia on the right, and they've been such rivals over the years, these two nations, not just in cycling, in so many of the different sports, especially at the Commonwealth Games level and right through to the Olympics as well. Great Britain with a slightly faster start, 0.7 of a second, quite significant, very early on, Nettie, but 0.7 faster in the first half a lap. That's a lot.
Yes, so you did mention Sophie Edwards coming in for Great Britain. She's actually coming in for Australia. So we had Amber Pate in the first round, but Sophie Lewis is coming in for Nia Evans. So we've had
I knew it was a Sophie.
That's
I knew it was a Sophie.
They've been replaced by two Sophies. So there's been a couple of changes, but yes, Great Britain are up to a faster start. I think that was Nia Evans just swinging up there for the GB team. But yeah, it's looking like Australia is about 1.425 seconds down, but it is early. We're only 4 laps into the race, so yeah, there's plenty of tactics involved in this, that's for sure.
Significant difference in outright speed from the previous round, though, isn't it? 4:12 for Great Britain, 4:16, 4 seconds. It's a big ask for the Australians to try and get themselves up here and beat Great Britain for bronze, though.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And this is where the coaches will go back, they'll look at the strategy, they'll look at how the team's performed. Everyone has got their individual roles, so the idea is to have everybody completely exhausted by the end. You've all got a certain amount of energy, so whether you do a 2-lap turn on the front, whether you do a half-lap turn and then do more later, it's all to do with tactics. The wheel that you're on, the rider in front of you, it makes a big difference as well. So if that person does a 3-lap turn in front of you, then you're going to be doing a lot of their percentage of work. So it's there's a lot of aerodynamics in cycling, and there's a big team strategy. So I'll be very interested to see what happens, but I know that the Aussies will not go down without a fight.
And that's what it looks like as well, because the gaps seem to be opening up fairly quickly, but it's now hovering around 2 seconds. Although from this position on the track, Great Britain would be able, in their peripheral, to look across and see that they are fairly in front of the Australian team. Go through the halfway point now, 2.4 seconds, comes back a little bit, 2.2 now. So Australia really starting to dig deep to try and bring this back.
They certainly are. They're almost in the same straight though. So once the GB girls can see the Australians, that would provide a massive advantage. Being able to see your prey and make it physical is a different story. So as we can see here, the Australians are down to 3. So that's Sophie Edwards, the starting rider. So she's done her turn. So they've gone back to a 2-turn strategy. So that meant that Sophie's done about a 2-lap turn for her first turn, and her second turn is a short one with a peel. So now we've got down to 3 riders, which means it is risky, but these 3 riders are very well rehearsed in the team pursuit. We've got Georgia Baker, Alex Manley, and Maeve Plouffe. So they were all at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, so they know what they're doing. But yeah, it is. Oh, we've got the Great Britain's also down to 3 now. So is that Nia, or is that, I think maybe Sophie Lewis? But yeah, there's a big gap to fill now. It's 2.3 seconds.
Inside the final kilometre now, 3.5 laps to go for Great Britain as they go down the back straight. Australia now getting to the middle of the front straight as they come through. The time hasn't blown out, but 2.8 seconds now with only a couple of laps to go, 3 laps in fact. Really difficult now for the Aussies to try and come back around and get into this race. Great Britain do appear to be riding towards the bronze medal here tonight. They do have to stay together though. We've seen plenty of interesting finishes over the last couple of laps in the first 2 days here of competition. And they come down to 3 riders really pushing on the edge. And in one of those riders starts to lose contact with the rider in front, it could be a big problem. Concerned look on the face of Cameron Meyer, but it's only 1 lap to go, so they should be able to get around now. They were starting to get a little bit messy just in the last couple of laps, Great Britain, but the gap is significant. 3.8 seconds with half a lap to go. So the bronze medal will be going to Great Britain, and Australia just trying to finish things off. Cross the line, reasonable time as well, 4:14.028. And that'll get them the bronze medal. The Australians coming across the line with a 4:18.7, so a little bit slower than they did in the previous round.
Yeah, both teams going a couple of seconds slower tonight. Normally you'd see the team speed up with the momentum and the heat, and there must be, it might be a bit cooler in there tonight, but yeah, well done to the Great Britain girls. They're a young team, they're a relatively new team, and yeah, they've done a brilliant job to keep under control and keep it together to win that bronze medal.
And a rider that we've seen so strong in the last couple of seasons, Katie Archbold, not here riding for Great Britain, and she on her own is just an absolute powerhouse. So it's good for them to get a bronze medal without their strong rider in Katie Archbold.
Absolutely, yeah. And also we've got Laura Kenny, we've got Eleanor Barker, we've also got Nia Evans, who'll be racing the elimination later tonight. So they've got a huge team there, and it's actually a bit concerning to see so many young developing riders doing so well. So yes, watch out world.
The next generation of team pursuiters coming through for Great Britain, as you would expect. They put so much time and effort into developing their riders. So bronze medal, congratulations Great Britain, good performance to kick things off here in Jakarta. Race for the gold medal up next. New Zealand, the fastest team in the first 2 rounds, qualifying and then the first round, riding 4 minutes and 10 seconds for both of those rides. But only 1 second behind them in the previous round was France. So this could be a really close race between these two. New Zealand in the home straight and France in the back straight. The lineup there for France, and they've really come on strong as well in the last couple of seasons. Of course, with the Olympic Games coming up in Paris in 2024, so much emphasis on getting strong teams for the French representing there. Race for gold in the women's team pursuit underway, 16 laps of the track. Favourites here, New Zealand, but France were not too far behind in the previous round, so this could be a really close race. And those UCI points to qualify for the World Championships, so very important to get a good result here at the Nations Cup in Jakarta.
Certainly is. We have New Zealand, they qualified the fastest with the 4:10.651, and I do think they looked pretty under control as they crossed the line. So We were wondering whether they've left a little bit up their sleeve, and we're certainly going to find that out very soon. France, very consistent. They've got a very strong lineup. They've brilliant at the bunch races as well, so they've really put a big focus in on their team pursuit in the last couple of years, in both men's and women's events.
Fast start by the French team, just slightly quicker than New Zealand at this point. Early going though, only a couple of laps into the race. Now the New Zealanders starting to bring it back a little bit. They've been so smooth in the first couple of races. Very close at the moment as they come down through the first kilometre. And a 107.4, that's on speed with the previous round. So New Zealand and France neck and neck at the moment.
Yes, it's quite funny to see the Paul Manning, the previous British coach. He's now moved to New Zealand and he's been looking after these girls. So he's in the black with the white fern across his chest. So it's really, I love seeing coaches and teams mix it up a bit and see what different strategies can come into play. But as you can see, these New Zealanders have really stepped it up. They've done a lot more work on the road. So we've got young Ali Wollaston. She's about 22 years old. We've got Michaela Drummond. She's also been spending a few years overseas on the road. And I think that, well, whatever they're doing, it's working.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now New Zealand really starting to take control. 0.9 of a second now. France tried to put them under pressure by going out really fast to start with, but the New Zealanders were not bothered with that, stuck to their schedule, and now the gap just starting to go out a little bit as they've gone through the halfway point, 207.4. They are bang on schedule to ride the same time as they did in the previous round, 4 minutes and 10 seconds. So that's pretty good riding if they can back it up 3 in a row.
As you can see, they're coming into the front straight now. So like we said before, once they can see that other team in their sight, that gives that little bit of extra motivation, extra bit of a boost whilst you're out there. It's tough going out there, but when you know that you're doing well and you're on track, it just provides that extra motivation. So we're just seeing, I reckon this is a peel coming up from the New Zealand rider. Yep. Oh, yeah, there we go. I think that was Emily Sherman, so that's their starter. So this is what they did in the previous round. So now it's down to Drummond, Wollaston, and Bryony Botha, who's amazing at the individual pursuit. So we will start to see some big turns coming up from them.
3 riders for New Zealand, 4 riders still for France, but the gap now quite significant, 2.3 seconds. The French have to try and overhaul. Going to be a big challenge for them as they go down to 3 now. So 3 versus 3, only a couple of laps to go. They'll come around to get 3 laps to go, 750 metres of this 250-metre track. And New Zealand certainly in control. 2.7-ish seconds now is the leading margin that New Zealand have over France.
Yes, that was Clara Caponi. So she's one of their Madison riders. So she's swung up the track. But French are down to 3, and there's a little bit of gap forming.
You can see the gap now visually just between the two teams, Nettie. When New Zealand come into the straight, they can see France up just ahead of them. 1 lap to go now. It's going to be a gold medal to the New Zealanders. It's been fantastic to see the development of the New Zealand team pursuit team. Really have been quite strong over the last couple of seasons. Put in a couple of new young riders as well, and straight to the very top. As France will finish this one off, but it's New Zealand with a 4:08.5. Take the gold here at the Nations Cup. That's a fantastic performance, riding 2 seconds quicker than they did in the previous round.
Well, I'm pretty sure you said it was going to be a 4:08 that was going to win it, based on the looks on their faces in that.
There was a guess. That was just a guess.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good. So maybe it's not that cold out there. They've gone and proven us wrong. That was a brilliant ride from them. French finished in a 4:12, so that was very similar to their starting their first round earlier today. So. I think they'll be happy with that, backing it up, but obviously they're out here for a reason. They want to win the gold. They want to get as maximum points as they can for qualification for the Olympic Games. So they'll be a little bit disappointed, but New Zealand, kudos to them. They've been working really hard. They've been focusing. This is a huge step for them.
And just that time, 4:08, that is significantly fast. That was a fantastic performance from them. Big effort off the start, as it always is in the team pursuit. It's an endurance event, but it's so important to get a hard start, really get going fast. And in the previous round, they just seemed to, in the last 2 laps, Nettie, back off a little bit. They knew they were going into the gold medal round. They could listen to the coach, see his instructions. They knew they were going fast enough to make it through. And it just seemed as if they took their foot off the pedal a little bit just to save some energy. And they were on a 4:08 pace in that previous round. It faded out to 4:10. Then they put it all down for this one. That was a great ride by New Zealand.
And that's the benefit of qualifying fastest. So they had a brilliant qualification, and that meant that they got to ride last in round one, which meant that they got to see what times every other team did. So they didn't have to push it. They didn't have to go hard all the way. They could save up their energy because it was going to be about 3-hour turnaround before their next round. So every little bit of energy counts. And yeah, they made it worthwhile. So as you can see, women's team pursuit final classification, New Zealand, the gold medal, France in silver, and we have Great Britain in third.
One of the nations that I really liked seeing there high up in the results as well was Ireland. So fantastic to see them really developing as well. Plenty of racing coming up tonight. Women's team sprint will be the next. It's the first round. But let's go down to the centre of the track and hear from our winners, the New Zealand women's team pursuit team. Well, we will get down to them very shortly. I know the New Zealand team, they're exhausted, of course, just coming off the track. But we are going to be able to talk to them and hear from them, which is fantastic. Maybe still a bit of huffing and puffing, but and some of them will be having to get ready for the next couple of races that are coming off. Same with all of the riders here. Heavy program for so many of the riders in only a couple of days of racing, and all of the Olympic disciplines to be raced and won. Points to be gained. 1,600 points obviously for the winner of the team sprint. But let's go down now to the New Zealanders, the winners of the First Nations Cup here in Jakarta.
Getting ready for the first heat, France and Germany.
Women's team sprint, first round, and it's France versus Germany, fourth versus the fifth in the qualifying. And it's a surprise to see Germany ranked this far down, the current world champions, but they have had a replacement in the team, and we would expect a lot more from them as we see Paulina Grabosch get them going, I think it is, that's flying around the track, and they are already well up on the French team. 3 laps of the track, one rider does a lap each, peels off, gets out of the way, and then first across the line after 750 metres. This is fast and furious as we see Emma Hinze from Germany driving them forward. Leah Friedrich from Germany finishing things off, as is Mathilde Grove from France, the current world sprint champion. And it does look like Germany have done enough, well enough actually, really got out in front, and it's very important. The winner of each of these heats in the first round, they are the ones that get to progress into the second. The fastest 2 teams race for gold and silver, third and fourth winners, fastest winners, they will race for the bronze medal. And Germany have done everything they need to do to get themselves into that gold medal race, which is what we would expect from the current world champions.
Yes, they are. They had their youngster, Alessa Catriona Propster, in the qualifying round earlier today. So that's why I think they were a little bit further down. And so they've swapped her over with the current world champion. So there were 3 sets of rainbow stripes out there in that round, and you can see the difference. They've made a 1.2 second difference. So that's the skill and the experience from Sophie Lee Friedrich. But they have the numbers, and I think that's what Germany does so well. They develop their youngsters. They've had a really strong team sprint team for a number of Olympic cycles now, and I think that's because they're so inclusive. They've given her a shot, and yeah, it's great for the future. I'm sure we'll see these names soon. I remember when Lee Sophie was coming through, so she was surrounded by Miriam Welter and Christina Vogel. So yeah, it's brilliant to see the depth of talent in that German squad.
And just to make that one little change and bring in Leah Friedrich, they went over 1 second faster that time compared to the qualifying round. So it just shows you how much a difference it can make. And that is a massive amount of time. On to the second of our first round races now, and it's the Netherlands versus Poland. Netherlands, the faster of these 2 in the qualifying round, but only 0.4 of a second separated these two teams. Marlena Kawaka from Poland will get them underway, and she did have the fastest first lap time of everyone in qualifying, and you can just see the effort of the lady on the right-hand side. Expect to see another fast time from her. The Netherlands, though, they really brought it home in the qualifying round. So a fast start from Poland, but look for the back end of this race to see just how quick the Netherlands can bring it back.
Yep, so that's Kara Lamberink. So she's just swinging up the track now. And then she has Hetty van der Waal along with Steffi van der Piet in her team. So they are tucked in, and they are currently just behind Poland. So it's going to come down to this final lap.
Well, now the Netherlands are bringing it home. So the fast start from Poland was expected, and a fast finish from the Netherlands. It's Van der Piet that's bringing them back into the start here. Fastest to go through into the next round, and it's another win there for the Netherlands, 46.9. So an improvement from their first round, their qualifying time as well. So a win to the Netherlands. That gives them the opportunity to go to race for gold and silver. It depends now on the speed of the winners of the next two races, just to determine whether they'll be racing for gold and silver or they'll be racing for the bronze.
Yeah, it's quite tricky, isn't it? So they go through the qualifying, then the top 8 teams go through, and then they are ranked against each other, and then from those 4 rounds, you have to win. And then the 4 teams that win, the top 2 teams go into the final for gold and silver, and then the next 2 go for 3rd and 4th. So, yes, we'll have to wait and see all the rounds go through before we see who actually makes it into those finals. But I do think the Germans' time with 46.3 is going to be hard to beat.
And it really makes this first round perhaps the most important in terms of giving yourself the chance, the opportunity to race for gold. Because the qualifying, you could be the 7th fastest team in qualifying, but as long as you win your first round and do a fast time, then you get to go for a race for gold.
Absolutely. That's where I feel sorry for France, because they actually were only 0.004 behind the Netherlands in their qualifying. So if they'd been that fraction of a second, just a little bit faster, they would have been in the next round, and they might have made it through against Poland. But because they were ranked against Germany, the Germans have come in and taken stolen the win. So that means that the gold medal dream is unfortunately over for the French.
The third heat now in the women's team sprint first round, and it's the People's Republic of China up against Mexico. And Mexico were very early off in the qualifying and led for the majority of it until the big favoured teams towards the end. So the development of the Mexican sprinters has really come on in the last couple of seasons. People's Republic of China, though, they've been at the top for a long time, so expect a very good time from them. Jessica Salazar from Mexico on the right-hand side getting them underway, and Yufeng Gao from China. It'll be a fast time from her, as we would expect. We've seen her do it in the past.
Wow.
A lot of power on the track. So good to see them putting so much pressure through those pedals, Natty.
Absolutely. They are giving it a lot.
18.6 for the first lap. That is incredibly fast for a women's team sprint first lap. So the Chinese team are absolutely flying here. Final lap, and it's a significant margin over Mexico. So the People's Republic of China will go on and win this one. It's too big of a gap now for Mexico to come back, you would think, with only a quarter of a lap to go. But just what is the time? That's what's so important. The winner's time, 46.76. People's Republic of China get the win over Mexico. And we'll now wait and see just how that holds up and whether they'll be racing for gold and silver or for the bronze.
Wow. 46.76. I think they did. They've moved in front of Netherlands. So I think that means they will be in the gold final. Judging by my quick calculations.
Well, we'll just have to wait. One more round to come. So Great Britain versus New Zealand. If someone can pull it out of the bag there.
Nope. I meant Germany have made it. They're straight in. Straight in. Apologies. I have to go back to school. But no, I was really impressed with the Mexican time after their first round. I think that was a huge step, and I think, yeah, it's really exciting. Really exciting to see a big mix in our teams going through. So.
Impressive ride by China. And what a great start it was. Really setting themselves up for a fast time with how fast Gal was for the opening lap. The final heat now, and New Zealand versus Great Britain. Great Britain with the faster time in the qualifying round, 46.9 up against 48.2. So a significant gap between these two. You would expect, barring an incident, that Great Britain should comfortably win this one. But it really now comes down to how fast they can go to make sure that they get into that gold medal race.
Yes, there was a little bit of a gap between the times here. We have got a young squad from New Zealand, Olivia King, Rebecca Petch and Ellis Andrews, who was at the Olympic Games. She won a bronze in the Keirin, and then she's really stepped up at the World Championships, the Commonwealth Games, multiple titles. So she's leading the youngsters in that squad. She's actually got a background in track endurance. She went to the Junior Worlds as a team individual pursuiter. So she made the switch, and I think she hasn't looked back.
Fourth and final heat, women's team sprint first round. Great Britain versus New Zealand. The time that Great Britain will be looking for has to be better than 46.76 to guarantee themselves a spot in the race for gold against Germany. They've been there before. So much depth in the British sprinting program. Also the track endurance program as well. They're just such an accomplished nation in track cycling. New Zealand, not too far behind though. They really have come on and done so many things over the years as well. 0.2 of a second is the difference as the second rider now goes onto the track.
Yep, Lauren Bell swings up, and this is Sophie Capewell coming through for Great Britain. So they're drawing away from New Zealand. New Zealand are 0.381 behind.
One more lap to go, 0.6 of a second. Great Britain will win this fourth heat. That was expected, but it's the time that's so important. They need to go fast to get into the race for the gold and silver medal. Hugging the bottom of the track as they come to the line, and 46.8.
Ooh.
That should
not
do it, actually.
No.
That will be outside. They will not be racing for gold. So that is a bit of a surprise.
0.04 of a second. So
wow.
China will be going into the gold and silver final against Germany, and Great Britain have done enough to go into the bronze final against the Netherlands.
Well, there we have it. Germany versus the People's Republic of China for gold and silver later on tonight, and then the Netherlands versus Great Britain for the bronze medal. You cannot have a bad round. You have to put up some great times every single time you get on the track. There's a high pressure on these athletes, especially in the sprint competition. One tiny little mistake could be enough to cost you a race for the gold or silver versus the bronze.
They actually went about 0.18 faster in their final just then, the British girls. So I think they'll have to be happy with that.
Well, there it is. That's what's coming up later tonight. The race for the medals in the women's team sprint. Germany versus China and the Netherlands versus Great Britain. We've seen all of those nations right up in the mix in Nations Cups, World Championships and Olympic Games in recent years. A lot of experience. But this is the opportunity, isn't it, Annette, to develop new talent through the Nations Cup. It's really important to make sure that you are developing the next generation to come through. And these are the competitions where you really get that opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's great to have the Nations Cups all over the world. There's about 5 or 6 of them. And it's just, a great opportunity to send young riders, send senior riders, send whoever you can. Unfortunately, it is the Olympic year, so there are a lot of points up for grabs. So teams will have to be tactful, but this is where they would often send the younger riders where it's an event that's further away. So for the Aussies, this is an easy one to send our A team because it's close. It's a lot easier for travel, whereas you might see a lot of the developing riders from the team, say in Europe or British based. I guess that's what we did. You just got to work out how it fits into each rider's schedule.
Getting more difficult as the riders cross over from track and road as well. So the men's team pursuit finals. This is the race for the bronze medal, and it's Great Britain versus Australia. Great Britain with the faster time in the previous round, 3:49, 3 minutes 49 seconds. And Australia not too far behind, so we're just 1.1 seconds behind with a 350.9. Great Britain in the home straight and Australia in the back straight.
Yes, so Great Britain, you can see the world champion colours of Oliver Wood. So he'll be leading his team. You've also got a very experienced Charlie Tanfield. They'll be joined by Rhys Britton and William Tidball. So it'll be really interesting to see how they go in this round. Charlie and Oliver were very, very strong in that first round, so I'm sure that they'll maybe be given a couple of extra laps or to do.
Australia on the other side, and they have had a change. James Moriarty has come in to the team, and he'll be beside Ollie Bledden, Connor Lay, and Blake Agnoletto.
Yeah, both teams had a bit of a drop off just towards the end of their round one. So this is going to be the strategy, is whether they can churn it around and keep that pace up high, and we might see a change in the times.
Race for the bronze medal, men's team pursuit here at the Nations Cup, presented by Tissot, but we have heard the gun fire, so a false start. I think it was the Australians in the back straight. They are allowed to restart, so we'll have to have a replay. We'll have a look at the replay and see just what exactly went wrong. I was focusing on Great Britain right down here in front of us. False start in the back straight with the Aussies. Adds to the tension, though. Racing for medals here, Nettie, and it really does add to the tension when these things happen.
It certainly does. So now it'll all be about resetting. Oh, here we go. Let's see. Ooh, I think his foot might have clipped out.
Yep.
Yep.
That was Ollie Bledden, youngster from South Australia that put his foot out of the pedal. So you're not jumping the start, just not quite getting it right. So that's unfortunate for the youngster, and that shows a bit of nerves. First time at the Nations Cup for some of these young riders. I did chat with Blake Agnoletto after the first round. He said he was, the qualifying, he said he was so nervous going into that. But it's good to get it out of the way, get the experience of racing on the big stage.
Yeah, well, he actually had a really good ride in his round, and yeah, it's really nice to see see him popping up and giving it a crack from Bendigo. Isn't that where you're from?
It is part of my training bunch when he is back there, but he's based in Adelaide, South Australia now. And that was Ollie Bledden just talking to the national coach, the new national coach, Tim Decker, who has been the coach for a long time, then took a little hiatus and coached in China for almost a year or so, and now back with the Australian national team. Time to reset, refocus, get themselves back into it. So much on the line for all of these riders. They're all vying for positions in their relative national squads for the Olympic Games. And of course the points, as we've mentioned a few times, so vital at the Nations Cup. Very, very important to make sure you get good results at this level to even give yourself a chance to qualify for the Olympics as a nation. You've been in this situation not that long ago, Nettie. You haven't been long retired. What's it like when you're so focused and ready to go, and then there is a restart like this? How do you just reset and get going again?
Yeah, I guess it's a little bit frustrating, but when you're in the moment, there's nothing else you can do. So you've just got to let it go, just reset, just think about what you were thinking about before the first time. So just clearing that mind, focusing on your breathing, staying nice and calm, and then going through the strategy. So what are your goals for the first even quarter of a lap? Just go through, can't get ready, listen to the timer, try and think just about the basics, don't overcomplicate it.
The Australians all set to go. Great Britain on the home straight, still just getting onto their bikes and clicking in. So Moriarty, Lay, Agnoletto and Bledden. It was Ollie Bledden with the red highlights on his handlebars that pulled his foot out of the pedal last time. And then Charlie Tanfield, Rhys Britton, William Tidball and Ollie Wood. Ollie Wood is the man in the rainbow stripes, signifying him as the world champion in the team pursuit. So the only member of last year's World Championships winning team. But they have so much depth of talent in the Great Britain program.
All right, coming up to 5 seconds to go.
Clean start this time. We see Bledden just dive down the track to get onto the wheel of James Moriarty. And so much at stake here. Bronze medal ride for the men's team pursuit. We will be seeing Denmark versus New Zealand coming up in the race for gold next. I can tell you, Denmark in the previous round, scintillatingly fast. 3:46. Super, super quick. Now, let's focus on the bronze. What can Great Britain do versus the Aussies? And they've had a really good start. Half a second up now for Great Britain over the young Australian team.
And we had one change in the Aussie team. So we had Graham Frisley, he was the starter in the first round, and now we've got Moriarty coming in. So, yeah, there's a different rider, a pair of fresh legs. Will that be enough to make them come across the line first?
And Moriarty himself really has come on. In the last 12 to 18 months, he really has had a big step up.
It's neck and neck with 1 kilometre in. We've got 3 kilometres to go.
Really close, isn't it? 0.2 of a second now. So Great Britain with the faster first lap. Now the Australians getting themselves up to full speed and just starting to get in front. It was pretty close in the previous round between these two. Just on 1 second was the difference. But we have seen, as we look at Tim Decker, the coach, signifying the green on the iPad. So just showing that they are up. Things are going well for now.
Yeah, so the iPad is a colour. So if you're up on schedule, if you're where you need to be, green is good. So if you're a bit slower, then that's when you might see a red. That means you need to start picking up the pace a little bit. And if you're a bit fast, then you'll see a yellow.
I was going to say, what is the too good? What's the too good indicator? So
well,
the yellow is caution. Be careful, guys. You're going a bit too hot.
Yeah, but if it's too good, that's not good. So therefore, good is green. You don't want to be too fast because you've only got a certain amount of energy. So if you go out too fast, you're not going to have enough legs at the end, and that's why you do see a lot of teams drop off. So the whole key is to get up to pace and then stay at that pace and be as smooth as you can, because any type of change in increase or decrease in pace hurts the legs. So you can feel every little thing out there. Like sitting on that wheel, you can feel it all. So that's why you've just got to think as a team. Think about who's going it well, call them up if they need to be called up, tell them to do extra if they need. But look, as we see, the Australian swing up at the same time as Britain. So both teams are down to 3, so it's starting to heat up.
Approaching the final kilometre, another couple of laps to go. At the halfway point, Australia were just slightly in front. And now, as they come through, it's not that much of a difference. Now, that's not quite correct, what we're seeing, the time difference there. It's far closer than that. It's only a couple of tenths of a second between these two squads as they go through.
We've got 4 laps to go coming up, Scott. This is an exciting last kilometre.
Here it is, 4 laps to go. Final kilometre for the riders. And Great Britain doing everything they can. They are starting to come back a little bit. So the timing has gone off the screen, but I can tell you Great Britain are starting to come back into this. Really close between these two now. Look at that, almost a dead heat coming into the final couple of laps. And a little bit of a crack starting to show in the Australians. The third rider leaving slight gap between him and the rider just in front of him.
Oh, he's just made it back on. That's all right. Oh, come on. Oh, I know how that feels. It just hurts so much. It's such a fine line. But, it looks like we're changing. We've got Australia a 0.2 behind Great Britain. So it looks like the momentum has changed.
And we come around now, 1 lap to go, and it is Great Britain that have fought themselves back into this race. It looked as if Australia were going to come away with the bronze medal, but it's the World Championship stripes of Ollie Wood on the front of the British trio that are dragging them back around and into the bronze medal. So Great Britain, fantastic comeback from them to take the bronze over the very young and impressive Australian squad coming away with 4th. So a great race from both teams. Couldn't pick that one until the last lap.
That was awesome. That's what team shooting's all about. One team goes out, has a bit of a lead, the other one fights back, and then I reckon it swapped 2 or 3 times out there. But yeah, it was the experience. Oliver Wood, I think he did about 2.5 laps for both his turns in the first round, and I reckon he added a little bit on the end there, or did something different, because he just brought that train home, didn't he?
Certainly did. What a fantastic race that was for the bronze. We still have the race for gold to come. Denmark versus New Zealand. That's going to be a ding-dong battle as well. We just saw a seesawing battle between these two nations, with Great Britain coming out on top, but only slightly over the young Aussies.
So going from a ding-dong to a seesaw, or a seesaw to a ding-dong?
It's close racing. That's what it is. It's exciting. Fantastic to watch these riders riding at such high speeds, and having it so close. And you can see just how on the edge they are, Nettie. And this is something that's really changed in recent years with the gears they're riding on the bikes now. The tactics have changed. It's not as simple as it was, one lap on the front each, swing up, go to the back. They're doing multiple laps now. There's strategies within each team as to how to get the best out of their 4 riders, and that also puts them right on the very edge of cracking. If something goes wrong, massive explosion, they lose their chance of winning.
Yep, it's a fine line when you're on the limit and you're pushing yourself to the extreme. As soon as that little gap opens up, it's almost it's so hard to close. So I think that's why we're seeing so many gaps open up in the team pursuing these days. But it does make for a very exciting racing.
Race for the bronze out of the way. Now it's the race for gold and silver. Denmark, the favourites, coming in with the fastest previous time, 3:46.7, up against New Zealand, not too far behind, 3:48.5. So less than a second separate these two from the previous round. And it's Hansen, Skivild, Befort and Pedersen up against Gate, Stewart, Bridgewater, I think it is, replacing George Jackson, and Kurgozu.
Yep, so we see the one change with the New Zealanders.
No changes for Denmark. They are the favourites on the left, but we've seen how close the racing is. So much can change, and they are racing on a knife's edge, putting absolutely everything into each performance when they get onto the track. Now it's do or die. Denmark versus New Zealand. Fast start for Denmark after the first half a lap. Let's see how they go once they get settled down into top speed. Again, a seesaw battle. Denmark, the first half lap. After one lap, it's New Zealand that are now in the front. And we get a little bit deeper into this race, we start to see where we are consistently.
Yeah, Denmark have been a force to be reckoned with in the last 8 years or so of team shooting. They've really, even maybe 6, they've really stepped it up and have changed the game. We have
Quick start by the Kiwis, though. The New Zealanders putting a bit of pressure onto Denmark. So they've decided to go out really fast and try and put that extra pressure on Denmark and try and crack them. Sometimes it doesn't go that way. You may end up cracking yourself if you go out too hard. So far, nice race being ridden by New Zealand.
Yeah, so we have Aaron Gate. He's the oldest in the squad at 32. He's tearing it up on the road at the moment as well. He put in some big turns in that round 1. He did a 2.5 lapper and then a 3.5 to finish. So, and I think he had something left in the tank too. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in his final turn.
Switches over now to Denmark. So a fast start from New Zealand, but Denmark's starting to get up to full speed. They've just now gone into top gear and they want to bring this one home and take gold. 0.2 of a second now. Still tight, nice and close, but it is going towards the team in red and white. Denmark starting to stretch it a little bit. Bit of effort from New Zealand brings it back to 0.1 of a second now.
This is going to be close, I reckon. It's going to go back and forward. What are we about halfway through now? Yep,
Coming close, here it is, 2,000 metres halfway through and in 0.2 of a second, so too close to call. We know that both these teams are laying everything on the track at the moment. You can see the body language. Look at that first rider in the front of the New Zealanders.
That's Kurgozu.
Absolutely leaving it down. So he was the starter, and it's a peel off from Denmark as well. So Denmark down to 3. It won't be long until New Zealand are also in the same situation. That is indeed on the other side of the track. That's what's happened.
Yep, Robin Skivild hit their starter as well, so both teams had the same tactic. Interesting that they all peel at the exact same time. So it's down to 3 for both teams.
And as that's happened, though, Denmark have really started to motor ahead. So the gap's starting to open up, 1.3 seconds now, and a bit of big job for New Zealand to do if they want to try and get themselves back into this.
About 3.5 laps to go. We're into the final kilometre.
Almost. We'll get that this time. So 4 laps to go as Denmark come through. And New Zealand, they do visually look as if they're trying to bring this back a little bit. So they're inside the final kilometre. And we've seen so many of the teams struggle in these last couple of laps. They've really had to put so much on the line that they haven't been able to stay together and get really messy in these closing couple of metres.
It's looking like Denmark are starting to pull away now, though.
Big effort from Aaron Gate from the New Zealanders trying to bring themselves back into the mix. 2 laps to go now. 500 metres left of racing here in the final of the Nations Cup in Jakarta. Men's team pursuit. Denmark, the favourites coming in. They had the fastest time through the rounds and now they're showing it on the track. 1.4 seconds is the gap. Final lap now for Denmark, and they are absolutely motoring. New Zealand's not out of it though. They've brought back 0.4 of a second in that last lap, and really trying to bring this one home. Closing down again. I don't think there's enough time for them to get back. There isn't. Denmark will get to the line first. 3:49.2. Gold medal go to Denmark, and a courageous effort from New Zealand to almost bring it back.
That was an awesome ride from Denmark. Big turn from Rasmus Pedersen in that final there. You couldn't see it on the coverage, but they just started to peel away in that last about 2 laps to go. You really put it in. So very exciting for Denmark there. I think they were very disappointed at the Olympics, so they'll be hungry. This is the last season to collect points for the Olympic Games next year. So yeah, have a point to prove.
Only 0.7 of a second between the two teams in the final. Yes, of course, silver medalists in the Olympic Games last year in Tokyo for Denmark. But they've been so consistent over the last decade or so, there or thereabouts, and it could go either way with the Danish team. Great victory for them. Significantly, 3 seconds slower than the previous rounds. So it also shows how hard they're going every time they get on the track. And it's really difficult to maintain those super high speeds through each round of team pursuits these days.
Yeah, depends on how long you have recovery between each ride. Depends on the conditions. If it gets hotter in the track, if it gets cooler in the track, if there's a thunderstorm, that makes things go a lot faster. I think the conditions at the moment are about 1.17, which is considered standard. But yeah, it can change all the time, and yeah, it depends on, do you have fresh legs coming in, do you not? But typically you would expect teams to make changes and go faster.
The final results there: Denmark over the top of New Zealand and Australia, Great Britain, France, Belgium, Canada, Japan and Italy. Men's team sprints, first round coming up next. .28 degrees in Jakarta at the moment, 85% humidity, very sticky in and around the velodrome, a little bit hotter inside the track itself as well. You see the riders desperate to get their skin suits off because it is quite sticky in here. Perfect racing conditions, to be honest.
You can see they look absolutely spent. I have a feeling we might be trying to cut to an interview soon, so we'll see how they feel about that. It's a great feeling when you swing that leg off after an event like this and the lactic acid is burning and you're trying to walk down and hug your teammates. It's a lot easier to do when you've won versus if you've come second, that's for sure.
Yeah, sure. Much more difficult to interview the fourth place team compared to the first, that's for sure. They can be proud of themselves, all of the teams here, very well represented. We saw even through 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th place, they were all very sensational on the track itself, well formed, fantastic equipment. I can't believe how much equipment, the cost of the inside of this velodrome, Eddie, with the technology. So let's go down to the Danish. Fantastic victory for them here in Jakarta in the men's team pursuit. They really have continued to be as strong, a real dominant force.
Congratulations. How does it feel to win the race?
It feels amazing. It feels amazing. It was a really nervous race because we knew we could win if we were doing our best. So we tried really hard to do it, and we made it possible. So it's really nice to stand here and get the goal.
What was the key moment for you in the race?
Well, I don't know. We just executed the race very perfectly, and everybody took their pull of it. So we just won together this time.
Can you walk us through your thought process holding a race and winning the race?
We start fast because we know it's the other team on the side and we want to get the draft. And then it's just trying to hold the speed, which I think we did pretty good, better than New Zealand, so that's good. And then we have Rasmus to the last 4K, 1K, to get the really good speed and drive us home.
How does it feel for you to win the race with your teammates?
It's very good because it's the first time for the qualification for the Olympics, and we can show that we can just walk up and set up a really good effort. And I think it proves that the whole organization behind us is really good, and our method is working. And if we just progress and keep on pushing, because the other teams are coming after us also, we can make it.
Thank you very much and congratulations.
Fantastic ride by the Danish to win the first round of the Nations Cup for the season here in Jakarta. Magnificent venue. Also brought to you by Tissot. On to the first round now of the men's team sprint. First heat, the Netherlands versus Germany. So the European champions, they won that crown only a couple of weeks ago, the Netherlands. And the fourth heat, we'll see the world champions, Australia, up against Poland. Same as we saw with the women, 3 riders, 3 laps of the track, 1 lap each, and absolutely full gas. This is a team we would expect to see an improvement through each round. Such a quality team, the Netherlands, and they are absolutely flying as Roy Vandenberg gets them up and going in that first lap, up and out of the way. 17.3 for the first lap with a 0.2 of an advantage over Germany.
Yes, so Harry Leveson we see right now. Oh, we've got the Germans on the screen, so we've got Stefan Bottcher versus Leveson. They are swung up and we're into the final lap now.
Max Dornbach and Team Van Loon finishing them off for the Netherlands. And they've done a fantastic job, the Netherlands, as expected. Really fast, 42.149. So that's a fantastic improvement. That's over a second faster than they did in the previous ride. So the Dutch had a bit of a bobble in that first round, and they're now here, or in the qualifying I should say, now in the first round, really coming back. Just to send a message to the Australians, in particular the current world champions, that the Dutch are not going to lay down. What a start, Nettie. Incredible power going through the pedals.
Yeah, it's Roy Vandenberg, so he's the European champion. That's what those stripes are, with the blue across with the white. So that was not very long ago. So these Dutch they know at the top of the podium. They've been up there many years in a row. So it's nice to see them turn it around ahead of the finals tonight.
Japanese riders are
Heat number 2, men's team sprint, and Japan, the second fastest in qualifying, up against Great Britain. So Japan with a time of 43.14, against Great Britain 43.3. So only 0.2 of a second. And between the top 8 teams that came into the first round, there was only 0.8 of a second separating all 8 teams. It is such a close competition. Obara, Oto and Nagasako, the Japanese team, and they are the current Asian Continental Champions. That's the jersey that they are wearing, not the Japanese national jersey. They're wearing the Asian Continental Champions jersey. Other side of the track, Great Britain, Jack Carling, Joseph Truman and Alistair Fielding. Fielding to get them underway. He had the second fastest first lap time in the qualifying round, so expect the Great Britain team to go out really quick, and the Japanese will be trying to then hunt them down.
I'm excited to see what the Japanese can do, because they're known for putting on a huge gear and then just grinding it. So I'm sure they'll be true to that style. Ota is a youngster as well, 10th at his first World Champs last year, background in rowing. So that's a very exciting prodigy.
Pulling on the handlebars, not the oar this time for Ota, the young Japanese rider. And Japan versus Great Britain. Good start from the Japanese. We know how fast that Alistair Fielding is, and he's showing that as well as they come around the end of the first lap. And 17.1, 0.2 of a second up. So Great Britain doing everything they need to, but the Japanese team are super fast in the back end.
They certainly are. Gee whiz, that was a little bit of a messy swing up, but they've done it. And we've got, I think it's Jack Carlin from Great Britain. He's bringing it home for GB. He's coming through the final bend.
Japan have got themselves in front with a half a lap to go, and they've come from behind to get the win. So they give themselves a chance to race for the gold and silver later tonight. You must win each of these rounds. So the fastest 2 winning times will race for gold and silver. Second and third fastest winning heat times will race, third and fourth, will race for the bronze medal. So Japan doing a good job. They just need to get that first lap a bit faster, I think, Nettie, because, gee, the back end is incredibly quick.
Wow, 42.742. That's a huge difference. That was 0.4 of a second faster in that round. And Scott, I would say, if they are going slow in the first lap, but they come through and win with an incredible time, surely that doesn't matter. Surely what they're doing is working. Exactly. So the team sprint is about 3 riders. It's not about the first, although a lot of people do like to look at who was the fastest in the world, who was the fastest here. But this is a 3-lap event, and whoever's going to be quickest across the 3, you need to come up with a team plan. So this is where your gear choice makes such a difference. So if you put your starter on a small gear, he might be able to get away faster. But then they might slow down, which is why a lot of the second wheel riders give a big gap to the rider in front. So they might gear up a little bit, so they might get a slower start off the line. They'll get into the slipstream, run at them, and then hope to deliver their third rider for that final lap. So there's no point going out and delivering the fastest lap if you can't pull through with your second and thirds, or if you're going too fast for them. So it's a really fine line, and that's where you do see a bit of changes amongst the riders in each team. Sometimes they rotate, because 3 rounds now for the team sprint. It's pretty taxing on the legs if you're third wheel each round. But here we have our next round, round 3. We've got China, the People's Republic of China, versus France. So this is going to be a tight one.
The final nervous 15 seconds before the start. Men's team sprint first round, heat 3. France versus the People's Republic of China. Gao, Zhu, and Zhu versus Grenbo, Vigier, and Hello. And a false start from one of the teams, China, perhaps. Yep, quick focus onto the Chinese. They are allowed 1 false start. But again, nervous tension. We saw a lot in the qualifying, actually, both men's and women's team sprints. There were so many false starts, and I do know that the UCI are starting to discuss how they can change the rules and the format to alleviate so many of these false starts. And some are legitimate. We saw in the team pursuit, Oliver Bledden from Australia pull his foot out of the pedal. That's a genuine problem. And we're back onto the French. So just a bit of early movement. You can see at the top there, just going a little bit too soon.
So maybe it was a false start from the French. It looked like the Chinese had an issue, but maybe not. Maybe they were just quick to react. But yeah, if you get 1 false start, and then I think they need to make sure that they don't jump the gun in this one. Otherwise, it could be over for them.
And it makes, and with the start, so important, incredibly crucial to get a quick start to anticipate the gun and the release of the starting gate for that first rider being so important. It really makes it difficult to come back this time knowing that it's all over if you mess it up again. So does it take that little bit of hesitation that could cost you at the very end after 3 laps?
Absolutely. I mean, when the team sprint's coming down to milliseconds, that reaction time and that hesitation does make a difference. But at the same time, you don't want to false start again and be disqualified. So that risk is is way too big. So this does add a lot more pressure. Whereas in the team pursuit, it's a 3-minute 50 race for the boys tonight, and the women were a 4-minute 10. So therefore, you have a little bit more up your sleeve, and it's tight racing.
You do have that little bit more time to overcome an early incident in a 16-lap race compared to, a 3-lap race with only 0.8 of a second separating the top 8 teams that have gone through into this first round of the men's team sprint. It is so crucial to get everything right, absolutely perfect, to make sure they have the chance to go into the race for the gold and silver. Just resetting now, getting themselves back and sorted. The French are the faster of the 2 from the qualifying round, but it was really close between these two. 42.899 for the French team versus 43.33. And if the first 2 heats are anything to go by, with the Netherlands and Japan, both teams taking so much time off their qualifying rides as well. They really did increase dramatically from this afternoon's qualifying.
They certainly did. I'm looking forward to seeing Ryan Halal. He's the third man in the French team. He came home very strong. He had a massive gear on, so it actually didn't look like he was going that fast. But then he just, brought it home. I think he brought back half a second in the last lap.
The penultimate heat in the first round of the men's team sprint will have Australia, the fastest qualifiers, up against Poland, the 8th fastest in the next race to come. Winner only progress through to the next round. Fastest 2 winners will race for gold and silver. 3rd and 4th fastest then racing for the bronze. France versus China. On paper, it's the French that should get the victory this way going through, but there's been so many changes in speed from the previous round to this one that we've already seen tonight. Quick start from both teams, and it's the Chinese that go a little bit quicker. 0.2 of a second up on the more favoured French. So a lot of pressure now going on to that final lap of Halal from the French to bring it home quickly.
So Zhao versus Vigier from France. So they've got 1.5 laps to go. We've got the People's Republic of China are 0.1 ahead with 1 to go, and Halal is now bringing it home for France.
Half a lap to go now, and they are now back in front. So it's taken them 2.5 laps to get back into the front now, but France will go through as the winners of this 3rd heat in the men's team sprint first round on time. We check now to see if that's going to be good enough to take them into the race for the gold and the silver, or is it going to be a race for the bronze? And I think that's the 3rd fastest time we've seen. So the French will not be racing for gold and silver. They will be racing for the bronze medal. Only one more heat still to come, and that includes the world champions from Australia, and they're at a 42.775 in their qualifying. But a little bit messy. You could see the second rider there from France, Vigier, just flicking down the track a little bit, just losing a bit of balance. And it was that 3rd lap. You called it before the start with Ryan Halal, how fast he came back in the qualifying round, and he did it again to come from behind to get the better of the People's Republic of China.
And I shouldn't have explained that I'd already seen it. I should have said he's known for coming back really fast.
Just own it.
Yeah, exactly.
A good comeback ride. And even so, it's a 3-lap race, really short, super fast, but it's amazing just to see how the things change and the tactics of the teams and fast starters versus fast finishers really is quite entertaining, the men's team's sprint. The final heat now in round 1 of the men's team sprint, Australia versus Poland. Australia are the current world champions. Fantastic sprint squad that has been developed just in the last 2 years, really, of the Australians. And they have 4 of them that they used to win the World Championships last year. Tom Cornish, Matthew Richardson, Lee Hoffman here in Jakarta. But Matthew Glaetzer, also a former world sprint champion, that is their 4th rider that's not competing here. And they're up against Rudik, Senecki and Bilecki from Poland. And they were the 8th fastest. So a big, fairly significant time gap between these 2 teams in qualifying. Australia really are looking to try and get themselves in the race for gold. At the moment, the fastest time, that is from the Netherlands, 42.1. The time for the Australians to beat, 42.7, to guarantee themselves a spot in the race for gold. Super quick start from both of these teams. Lee Hoffman getting the Australians up and going. It'll be interesting to see just where he sits compared to the Japanese team in particular, who currently have the 2nd fastest time. Australia up and in front for now.
Yep, there's not much in it, Scott. 0.068, and you can already see the change. 0.272 after 1 lap. Then we have Matthew Richardson on the front now for Australia in the rainbow stripes, and he'll be swinging off up the track. And we have Thomas Cornish bringing it home for Australia. So can they do it?
1.4 is the gap between them and Poland. Cornish going around the final corner, and they will certainly win this. But what is the time? 42.3. 2nd fastest overall time, so that guarantees them a spot in the final for gold and silver, but it was a little bit slower than the time we saw from the Netherlands. So the Netherlands going through as the favourites now into the race for the gold and the silver medal. Australia doing enough to make sure that they will be in competition against the Netherlands.
Yeah, very interesting. So they'll be happy to make it into that next round, but they're going to have to find something else. So they actually went a lot faster in that round, 0.5 of a second. However, the Netherlands are still 0.15 or so faster. So that's a pretty significant gap. But I'm sure they'll go sit down with all the coaches. They'll look at all the splits. They'll look at the gears. They'll ask the boys how they felt, and then make some changes. So I'm sure they'll be hungry to win their first race in the rainbow bands.
Tom Cornish finished them off for Australia, 42.374, so the second fastest time, but a trip into the final, racing for gold and silver up against the Netherlands. So it'll be the Netherlands versus Australia for gold and Japan versus France for the bronze medal. And a lot to be said about the Japanese team as well. They have come on strong the last couple of seasons. So great sprinting pedigree coming out of Japan. And of course, there are so many sprinters coming through the professional Kirin scene that they have a lot of talent to choose from if they can convince them to not do the professional Kirins and actually come and do some of the UCI races instead. There's so much money to be earned in the Kirin scene. One of the Japanese riders that was part of the national team up until just after the Tokyo Olympic Games, I was talking to a couple of the Japanese coaches this afternoon, and they said that last year I think he made about $4 million in the Japanese Kirin scene.
Yes, you can see why they attempted to go in that direction. But it's so nice to see them coming to the track and being inspired and, taking on the world, prioritising world titles. And then, I think it's really cool for our sport to have them investing. And then I'm sure it's going to change the game in Japan as well.
How much of a scramble is it, though? You consider the effort that the sprinters and all the athletes, the endurance riders, they all put in huge efforts. But the sprinters in particular, they are tuned to go as fast as they possibly can in one big effort, but then they've got to come back again in not too long a time to come back out and do it all again. So what process will they go through now when they go back into the team pits?
Yeah, it does get pretty challenging for the men and women out there, especially if they're known for creating lactic acid. So you often see a lot of the riders lying on their backs, putting their legs up, trying to flush it that way. Other riders will jump straight onto a road bike, go for a spin. They might jump on the rollers to try and flush it out. There's a lot of different techniques, but everybody's different, and it also depends on the order of the races. So depending on which track or race you go to, they might have a longer gap between the races. Some might have a shorter gap, so that's when you're allowed to have four riders in the men's team sprint or the women's team sprint, and you can sub them in and sub them out. So that's where you have to get tactical and be like, all right, this gap is too small, so therefore we're going to put in our more endurance type of rider so they can back up, or we might put our short, powerful one in for one, or for example. So there's a lot of tactics involved, and there's a lot of preparation, and that's why a lot of teams have sports scientists in the scenes, coming up with plans to take on the rest of the world.
Not too far away from the first of our presentations, it will be the women's team pursuit. We saw them just lining up and waiting, so they'll be getting their medals soon. And there's the warm-up process. Some of those riders are getting ready for the elimination races. We've seen the sprinters on the track in the team sprint, the team pursuiters as well, the endurance riders. Some of those coming out later to combine with the fresher legs that will be out there in the elimination race, which is one of the most fantastic races at the velodrome, I must say. If you haven't seen an elimination race, make sure you stay tuned in, because it is such an exciting event, and a lot of rough and tumble, and a lot of people trying to squeeze into positions that and through gaps that do not exist in the elimination.
Yeah, it's a bit of a party event, I would say. It's last one out, last one across the lines out. So you do see people squeezing through gaps that aren't there, people taking risks, and the elimination used to just be part of the Omnium. So it was one of 4 events at the Olympic Games, whereas now it's its own standalone event at the World Championships. So last year was the year before, 2021, I think, was the first year that they introduced the elimination at the World Championships. And it's raised the intent from a lot of riders. So every couple of laps you get a bell that rings, and then a rider is eliminated. So it builds up that lactic acid. It's really hard on the body, and it's very exciting.
Doesn't make me want to go out and do it after everything you just said, but it is certainly exciting to watch. The women's team pursuit presentation is just about to happen, the first of our medal ceremonies here at the Jakarta Nations Cup, brought to you by Tissot And the first step in the process of qualification for the Paris Olympic Games. So important for all of the nations to be well represented, and that's what's happening. It's an incredible list of riders, so much depth, so many entries, so many different separate nations as well that have come here to Jakarta to race on this wonderful velodrome for the first of the Nations Cup of the season.
The medals will be presented.
Three teams all lined up, and the French team are not that familiar with this surroundings, but they really are starting to come on. So things are looking good for the Olympic Games in 2024. Paris, the French, the right trajectory going towards their own Olympic Games.
Yeah, they certainly are. They've stepped up across the board. They're consistently on the podium now at the World Championships. So they haven't quite taken the win. Same with the Madison, but they're sniffing around the edges. So it's exciting to see.
The bronze medal going to Great Britain. They did use 5 riders over the 2 days of team pursuit qualifying. Mia Evans not up here. She rode in the first round, I think it was, or qualifying. But we have Sophie Lewis, Josie Knight, Anna Morris and Jess Roberts. The bronze medal to Great Britain. 4:14 was their time in the race for bronze up against Australia. Australia 4:18, so slowing significantly. Both teams about 2 seconds slower than they were in the previous rounds.
That's a wayang kulit. It's a traditional Indonesian puppet.
In the second place, France.
There you go.
Bronze medal to Great Britain. Familiar jersey on the podium at Nations Cup, World Championships and Olympic Games, of course. Onto the silver medal now. And the team we were just previously talking about, the French, Bertou, Caponi, Fortin and Boras. Clara Caponi, we did see her in Australia just recently, Tour Down Under and the Cadet 11's Great Ocean Road Race, so crossing over to the road as well. And silver medal in the Madison at the World Championships last year. You mentioned that, how they are very well credentialed in the bunch races. Coming together very well now indeed as well in the team pursuit.
They certainly are. They're very consistent. They're a very even squad. They all have their road teams that they head back to and balance.
Hasn't that come on? You talk about road, women's road in particular. The last couple of seasons has just gone ahead leaps and bounds. The media attention, also the salaries now, not quite matching, of course, nowhere near the men's just yet. But it is going the right way, isn't it? It's really going in the right direction. The gold medal here, though, at the Nations Cup in Jakarta, it goes to New Zealand, and a dominant performance from them. 3 team pursuit rounds to get into to win the gold medal. 4:08 was the time in the final. Twice they rode 4:10. They really were the dominant team here on the track in Jakarta.
They certainly were. And we've got Michaela Drummond, Ali Wollaston, Bryony Botha and Emily Shearman. So they had 4 riders across all 3 rounds. They were very consistent, very calm, cool, collected. And yeah, I think they'll be very happy with their rides here.
Do they have riders that aren't here that could come into the team as they go forward towards the Olympic Games next year?
I think they do have another couple up their sleeve. So they've been, well, there's also a whole year to go. And you can see with a lot of younger riders, the development can be so quick. So I wouldn't discount anyone from a team. But yeah, these are there for strong riders. So.
And the Olympics always brings back certain people as well, don't they? So everybody wants to go to the Olympic Games and try and win a gold medal. So there may be some riders that have been around in the program for a couple of seasons that do want to come back. But New Zealand, France and Great Britain, gold, silver and bronze, the women's team pursuit. Fantastic competition that was, the Track Nations Cup here in Jakarta, Indonesia. Magnificent venue. The riders have all been talking about just how smooth this velodrome is. You might say, well, most of these indoor velodromes are smooth. They're all pretty much the same, aren't they? But no, these ones the riders have been saying this one in particular just seems to be incredibly smooth compared to some of the ones they had been riding around the world. So great venue, great performances as well. hive of activity in the middle of the velodrome. Riders warming down after previous events, others warming up for the next competition still to come. The men's team pursuit victory ceremony is up next. Many of these riders will be coming out in the Omnium and Madison and other events still to come over the next couple of days. Many of them coming off competition only a couple of weeks ago, the European Championships. So that has been a little bit of an advantage for the European nations to have had such a high-level competition just in the last couple of weeks. A great advantage to use that. Also, points awarded towards qualification for the Olympics at the European Championship. Not quite as many as you do get here at the Nations Cup. Hello to you, Aaron Gate, third rider across. Multiple gold medals at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham last year. Really has come on as well.
Yep,
One of the older riders. Yeah, one of the older riders in the New Zealand team, but it seems just in the last 18 months that he really has stepped up as a road rider as well.
I feel, yeah. He's always been there. He's always been around the mark, and he's been sniffing around a few of the World Tour men's teams, and I think he almost made it in, and then ended up joining Black Spoke and absolutely smashed it. The last 2 years he's really turned it around, and also on the track, just tearing it up. So he's found a good combination and he's gone with it. So that's really exciting to see. Shout out to Kirsty Gate. She's probably watching with their little one back in Spain, probably. It's their new home. He was thinking about moving back to New Zealand apparently. So I think he's going too well for that for now. So.
Oh, it certainly is.
Very
Yep, certainly is. 5 riders used by the New Zealanders to get to the silver medal position for them. And this is the squad that picked up the bronze medal. So Great Britain doing a great performance, as always expected from them. 3:51 was their time in the final. Slightly slower than they did in the first round. It was a comfortable victory they had over Australia. Ollie Wood, William Tipple, Reece Britton and Charlie Tanfield.
Pada urutan ketiga, Britania Raya. We are only for Wood. Tipple William.
Ollie Wood in the rainbow stripes as the current world champion. Charlie Tanfield, the taller of the 4 riders. Family name that we're all getting to hear quite a bit. Tanfield brothers doing really well on the international scene.
There's Ollie Wood in the world champion stripes.
So the first of our men's medals now being awarded, the bronze to Great Britain for the men's team pursuit. What's it like, Nettie, being a part of a team? And you've been in both situations, part of a team pursuit group training for a world championship victory or so, compared to an individual event that you've done yourself in all the different individual events. What's it like do you prefer to win on your own or be a part of a team?
Depends who's listening. No, they're both incredibly special in different ways. I feel like the individual is for yourself, for you and your family, whereas the team is for your friends and your country. So, yeah, the team, it's just, there's nothing quite like doing something with a team, being able to celebrate with a team, because you've gone through all the highs and the lows. You don't just magically arrive at the top. So you've probably shared a lot of pain and tears and happy moments together to get to that point. So to be able to win and share that is very, very special.
Silver medal going to New Zealand here in the men's team pursuits in Jakarta. First round of the UCI Nations Cup. Aaron Gate, Campbell Stewart, George Jackson, also Daniel Bridgewater and Nicholas Kugogsu.
Are we allowed to comment on mullets? Because that is...
You can do the fashion police if you'd like to, Nettie.
Yeah.
Go for it.
George Jackson from the Black Spoke team as well. He rides on the road. Here we go. Here's a happy team of Danes.
Absolutely. The gold medal going to Denmark. And in the qualifying, they looked good. In the first round, they were sensational. 3:46.7, slightly slower in the final to win the gold. Very close between Denmark and New Zealand. But gee, they look solid. Even though it was only 0.7 of a second in the end between these two squads, Denmark really did look quite comfortable.
Yeah, it was. They weren't the underdogs. The Kiwis had qualified faster, so it was on these boys to pull out something else, and it was neck and neck for a long time there. And it wasn't until about the last two and a half laps that they started to pull away. So they stayed cool, calm, collected, and it paid off.
Tobias Hansen, Robin Skivelt, Carl Frederick Bevort, and Rasmus Pedersen, who's been there so many times in the last couple of seasons. Good solid team. Good to see the Danes continuing the tradition that they've had for such a long time now in track cycling and team pursuing in particular.
Of Indonesian Cycling Federation.
The Australian squad, the youngsters, finished fourth in the end. Ollie Bled and Graham Frisley, who rode the first couple of rounds. He was replaced by James Moriarty for the race for third and fourth. Connor Lay and Blake Agnoletto. They were the fourth place team from Australia. Medals though, Denmark, New Zealand and Great Britain. Next few medals not too far away from being won as we go into the women's team sprint finals. You can hear the starting mechanism being tested once again before the next competition comes onto the track. And the race for the bronze medal, Great Britain versus the Netherlands. And the race for gold, the current world champions from Germany up against the People's Republic of China. Sophie Edwards there, the young Australian, just getting herself ready for the women's elimination race coming up. And we spoke a lot about that before. It's such an exciting race. Great to see it in the World Championships and as part of the Omnium European Championships recently, and now at the Nation Cups as well.
Yep, so we'll see the women's team sprint finals and then followed closely by the women's elimination. So the first ride will be up for bronze. So it'll be Great Britain versus the Netherlands. Everybody's preparing. You can see the Netherlands very focused, cool, calm, collected.
I was going to say it's almost a yawn on the right-hand side, a little bit too cool, calm and collected, but I don't know. It was just a deep breath, final psych up.
Yeah, I may or may not have seen the team pursuit British rider on the start line in start gate yawning as well. So it might be a thing. It seemed to work for him for the bronze, so.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it's interesting to see the techniques that people use to pep themselves up, whether they slap the legs, whether they stay calm, whether they laugh and joke. The Canadians are known for the Canadian team sprinters. They're known for sitting there relaxing and having a joke. But unfortunately, they've come down with something like their illness. So they weren't great today, and they're a bit disappointed with that. So they've been a bit down and out the last few days.
Oh, that is a shame. Final moments of preparation. If you go back to the 10-time world professional sprint champion Koichi Nakano, he was the old slap in the face kind of guy way back in the day. Won 10 straight, the only rider to win 10 world championships in a row. Incredible performances through the 80s, in particular, into the late 70s into the 80s.
So was Christina Vogel. She, before every start, she would just be sitting there and just slap so hard.
I had an old coach do it to me as a kid. He'd seen Nakano get slapped and slap himself to psych up before a championship, and I was doing a time trial to qualification for something, and I think it would have been 14 or 15 years old, and the coach came up and last moment before the start slapped me across the face.
Oh, I wouldn't name names because
No. You couldn't get away with it these days.
No, exactly. Sure. Oh, well, you remembered it. I hope, did it fire you up? Did it work?
Well, it fired me up, but not for the racing effort, that's for sure. Riders now fired up, though. It's the women's team sprint race for the bronze medal. The Netherlands versus Great Britain. Great Britain in the home straight, the Netherlands in the back straight. So indicating the times through the previous round that Great Britain are slightly the favoured squad to come away with the bronze. Netherlands will be doing everything they can to avoid that, though. Lauren Bell, Sophie Capewell and Emma Funeken. 3 riders representing Great Britain. There you go, final moments, deep breath, fully psyched up and ready to go. Lamerink, Van der Waal and Van der Piet, 3 riders from the Netherlands.
Strapping themselves in. So these sprinters have so much power out of the start gate that they all use toe straps over the top as well. So cleats click in and then your toe straps, and then hopefully you don't pull in your foot.
Saw it in the men's team pursuit. Ollie Bledden from Australia pulling his foot. We don't want to see that here in such an important event as the team sprint. Final 5 seconds now. Race for the bronze medal, women's team sprint final. Big effort from Lauren Bell out of the start gates, and Kira Lamerking on the other side of the track for the Netherlands.
Both teams out to a good start.
British slightly quicker, 0.3 of a second over the first half a lap. Let's see, we go over 250 metres. And it's gone out a little bit further. So great start to Great Britain. Faster of the 2 squads to get going.
Yeah, they're holding it at 0.33 of a second. So it's going to come down to this final lap. Can Steffi van der Piet bring it back? Well, it brought it back by 0.1 of a second. They're coming there.
Come back a little bit. Emma Van Uken now, the Welsh rider, riding for Great Britain, trying to finish this one off. It's down to 0.23 now. Very close between these 2 squads. Netherlands bringing it back a little bit, but not enough. Great Britain come away with the bronze medal, 46.6 seconds, and a really good finish from Emma Van Uken. Make sure they come away with the bronze medal here in Jakarta in the women's team sprints. Jason Kenny, multiple Olympic champion, happy with that. Smile on the dial for him, and good to see the Brits coming away with the bronze. Pretty even race after that first lap, wasn't it? The second, third laps, fairly consistent. A good solid performance from Great Britain.
Up next, and the second heat of women's team sprint finals.
Look at this start. That's Lauren Bell. So she's clean out of there. You can see the pumps. You see the veins pumping. She's very, very powerful. Through for the line just before the second rider, Sophie Capewell, came through. So we need to make sure that the first rider is across the line in front of the second one before they swing up. And then that's the same thing happens for the next lap. So then Sophie Capewell had to make sure she was still first across the pursuiter's line before Emma Finnegan came through. So that's the rule in team sprint. You've got to make sure that each rider does their lap on the front. And then, the best time wins. So congratulations to Team Great Britain on their bronze medal.
Race for the gold medal now, Germany versus the People's Republic of China. Women's team sprint, and it's the world champions that are the favourites. They had a bit of a stumble in the qualifying, a little bit down, qualifying in the lower ranks, but then they bounced back in round 1. Super fast time from the world champs, and they are now sitting in the home straight up against China in the back straight.
Yep, so it's 30 seconds countdown to go. We had Alessia Catriona Propster, who was in the qualifying for Germany. So she joined the world champions Grabosch and Emma Hinze, and they did a pretty good time. They did enough to get 5th, so then they were up against the French. But then when they've swapped in their other world champion, Lee Sophie Friedrich, you can see the difference, and they had a 1.2 second change. So we'll see what happens here.
China versus the world champions, Germany, and Paulina Grabosch getting the Germans up and going. Racing in the rainbow stripes, it has to lift you. They're fresh off the European Championships. They won there, so they have good form as a combination. They've had good form for the last couple of seasons, but it's China with a super quick start, 0.2 of a second faster than Germany. We saw that in the previous round as well. Germany with a bit of work to do now to bring this one home. Gone out to 0.3. Are we looking at an upset?
Wow.
Emma Hinze, the world sprint champion from previous years. She's brought it back a little bit. Very fast second lap from the Germans. Emma Hinze brought them back into contention. Now it's Friedrich down the back straight, and they've gone in front. Half a lap to go, and it is the world champions. They're going to fight themselves around to the line to just get the win. Well, they're saying it's a dead heat. An absolute dead heat. It did look as if the Germans were getting themselves on the right side of the dial to come home and get the win. And we'll wait for final confirmation. That's what's popped up in our timing, but we'll wait for the official placings to see if they are going to give it to them. Well, it doesn't get any closer than that, Annette Edmondson.
No. 0.000. We'll see if this is correct.
Wow. China going out slightly quicker on the first lap. Then it was Emma Hinze that brought them back, and this is the finish.
No, I think we have an error. Yep.
I think there is an error because you can see there Germany clearly in front, and the actual times that they've given to each of the teams, it's clear that from what they put up on the scoreboard here is that Germany were the faster, and you could tell then at the finish line as well. So it did look as if it was going in the right way. Germany, the world champions, coming away with the gold medal here in the women's team sprint at the UCI Nations Cup in Jakarta. What a great performance. You put the rainbow bands on, it certainly does lift you.
Here we go. Here's the difference. So 46.613 to Germany and 46.755 to People's Republic of China. But that did get the heart racing. I was shocked.
I think the Germans may have had a heart attack then when they saw the scoreboard. They thought clearly they were coming home faster. Paulina Grabosch, there's her off the start line. So a lot of power going through the pedals there.
Yeah, that's it. She spent a lot of time in the gym, a lot of time doing strength training, a lot of starts. There's hours and hours and hours have gone into that. There's a lot in technique. There you go. You can see she's crossed that line first before Emma Hinze's come through.
And it's a big sacrifice that the starter has to make in their training when you talk about wanting to do the Kieran and the sprints as well, because they're all flying start races where it's so important to be super quick from a standing start. As the first rider in the team sprint, you are making a big sacrifice for those other individual races, aren't you?
Yeah, it's a different time. Your race is 16 seconds, 16 to 17, whereas these other girls, they're there for a bit longer. They might need to do a lot more flying starts. As you can see, here we have the women's team sprint final classification. Germany in 1, People's Republic of China, Great Britain in the 3rd, and Netherlands in 4th.
And also fantastic to see the home country, Indonesia, in 15th place and up on the track. So let's go down to the centre of the track with the current world champions and the winner of our Jakarta Nations Cup team sprint.
France, Germany, United States of America, Italy, and Australia.
How does it feel to win in Jakarta for the Track Nations Cup?
Yeah, it's the first big Nation Cup for us for the season, and for us it's not that common that we compete in such a heat. So it's been a long day and we're very, very proud to go home with a gold medal today.
What would you say was the biggest factor in the team's victory today?
Well, we're such a good team. We work together like almost day by day, and it's not as easy to compete in rainbow stripes as everybody thinks. And yeah, we're a good team. Everybody knows who does what, and yeah, we can be very proud of ourselves.
Thank you and enjoy the victory.
Thank you.
Paulina Grabosch, multiple world champion now, multiple times world champion. And such a integral part of the performance of the German World Championship team. And they've got a big goal, of course, of winning the Olympic Games in Paris, and part of the big build-up at the moment. Next race coming onto the track now, the women's elimination race. We have the men's race coming after this as well. And this is such an entertaining race. And it's the one race in cycling where you don't focus on the front of the peloton each time they come around. It's to the back of the peloton with the last rider across the line eliminated on every second lap. As we look down through the start list, Ali Wollaston from New Zealand, one of the riders that is possibly going to go for a medal here, one of the stronger riders. Also Martina Fidanza from Italy, current world champion in the team pursuit. Nia Evans, though, from Great Britain for me. I've seen her really progress over the last couple of seasons since she's become a full-time cyclist. And she's the current world points race champion. So look out for the rider from Great Britain, Nia Evans.
She is, and she didn't race today, so she'll be fresh and hungry and motivated. A few of these girls were actually in the team pursuit earlier. So we had Ali Wollaston, as you mentioned before, in the front right now from New Zealand. She just won a gold medal. She's done 3 rounds in the last couple of days, so we'll see how her legs back up. But she has been doing a lot more road. Her endurance is great. Martina Fidanza, she's towards the back of the bunch now. So you mentioned Team Pursuit World Champ. She's also Scratch Race World Champ. So she's dual World Champ in that. So she's noticed the danger and is moving up.
Well, she went back-to-back as well, didn't she, to win the Scratch Race World Championship. She won on a couple of occasions. So she's someone that's really handy in these bunch-type races. Now, we heard the bell that time. So the next time around, the last rider across the line will be eliminated. And at the moment, it's the German on the inside, struggling a little bit. And then perhaps right down the very bottom from Norway, perhaps in trouble. I think it could have been.
I think that was Anita. Was it Anita or was it Germany's?
It was Norway. So Stenberg, one of the favourites for this race, getting herself down underneath with nowhere to go. And she's the first rider to be eliminated. She'll be disappointed with that.
Yes, Anita is a European champion, has won multiple medals at major races, so she'll be very disappointed with that.
Oh, and a problem here for Fidanza as well. We can see some spokes taken out of her front wheel. So they will neutralise the race. This was going to be an elimination lap. So every 2 laps, the last rider across the line eliminated. But with the mechanical issue that we saw with Fidanza.
Yep, so she's allowed 5 laps out with a mechanical. So she could take her time, but she obviously is all right. They've changed something around. Swapped her bike over. That's what they did. That's why she's up and going.
Well, interestingly, she hasn't come back onto the track yet, but they have given the bell to start the race again. But I can see that the yellow flag is still being held out by the race official at the start-finish line. So while the bell was rung, I think they were a little bit premature on that.
Yep.
Wait to see just how they officiate this, as Fidanza is still trying to get herself up onto the velodrome.
Yep, the yellow flag's come back out, so now it has been re-neutralised.
So they did restart the race prematurely then. They are hoping to get Fidanza back on there. She's on the inside, the Italian rider, trying to get herself up onto the track. She was a bit confused when she heard the bell being rung when she wasn't back onto the track. Yeah,
so the problem is, though, in the elimination, when they neutralise this race, a lot of people don't like to neutralise because it means you'll be out of position. So, here's Fidanza, she's chasing back on from behind. So
well, I did watch the commissaire tell her as she came onto the track, I think she was hoping to get another lap out while she was on the track to come back in, and they told her, you better chase, get back on. The peloton has come past you.
Yep.
And then they fired the gun again. So the next time they come around, they will get the bell to signal an elimination.
Yeah. So she'll have some pain in the legs, I think. She's going to have to get out of that position and move up and around the outside. You've got Sophie Edwards, the Australian, just in front of her, so they're going to have to move forward if they want to get out of the danger zone. Japan looks like she's in trouble too. So that's Tsuyaka Uchino.
Well, Fidanza struggling to get up around the outside of Sophie Edwards here. She wasted a lot of energy getting back into the race, and it is Edwards. And a crash in the middle as well. So Sophie Edwards was the last across the line. She'll be eliminated. But then, unfortunately, we saw these 2 riders right in the middle going down.
So Lithuania, Olivia Balasaita. So she's a very talented rider. She's been around a lot, so hopefully she's all right.
Well, Edwards was the last rider across the line just before that crash happened. Now, you can see some confusion there, but the crash happened definitely after the finish line on the elimination lap. So Sophie Edwards was the last rider. This actually helps Fidanza as well now. She can actually get her heart rate down a little bit. We can see clearly Edwards the last rider down, and then the two riders tumbling over the top, unfortunately.
And that's Czech Republic, Katarina Kohutkova. She's holding her shoulder. It looks a bit like a collarbone, potentially. So hopefully she's all right. Looked like a bit of a clip of wheels, and this is what happens when you're coming in and everyone's tired and fighting and desperate to not be last. So they often can make mistakes or squeeze, or you have a foot go through someone's spokes. So the race will be neutralised till these girls are up and running, but they're meant to have 5 laps. You're meant to have 5 laps before you get back in. So Lithuania's Olivia Balasaita looks all right. She looks like she might try and get it back in there, but yeah, I don't think Kohukova's looking as comfortable.
That right shoulder certainly nursing that at the moment. Balasaita, 6th place in the European Elimination Championships, and both those riders now not coming back into the race. We've now restarted. So the next 2 riders, unfortunately, are eliminated from the crash. Walston now comes around the outside, and there's Nia Evans, last rider on the track. And you'll hear the bell when they come around this time for the next elimination.
Yep, she's got to do some work to get up and around. It's Egypt in trouble. Zayed Ahmed.
And on the inside as well, so third from the back now, but down on the inside in a little bit of trouble, Rodriguez from Spain. If they all do come around the outside and rush down to the finish line.
Portugal?
Yeah, I think it might have been Portuguese rider, Martins.
Maria Martins. We're looking at Egypt though.
And
Portugal.
the Portuguese rider has been eliminated. So focusing on Egypt, but it was Maria Martins in the middle of the peloton at the back. Now from the USA in a little bit of trouble as well. So
Gulick.
quickly up and around the outside. So Mexico also now starting to struggle a little bit.
The Spanish rider, she looks like she's in a risky spot too. Yep, on the inside.
It was right down on the inside, I think will be the next one to go. Wait for the official confirmation.
Yep.
Rodriguez. Laura Rodriguez from Spain, right down on the inside, the next one to be eliminated.
And that's the thing, she might have looked comfortable before, but then at the last second, if everybody moves forward and up, then all of a sudden you're exposed. So it's a very risky place to be when you're stuck on the inside with nowhere to move.
I think she stayed in a little bit longer than
Yeah.
we were hoping that she would, thinking she was still there to be racing for the finish.
Ireland.
Mia Griffin. Yeah, Mia Griffin, the next one to go. Riding good position is so important, isn't it? It's say easy, but it's easier to go straight to the front and ride on the front and be out of everyone's way, but then you're wasting so much energy pushing into the wind. So you want to be near the front, but not right on the front. You definitely don't want to be at the back on the inside. That's when you get caught out.
Yeah, that's why a lot of the riders sit a little bit out and a little bit up. But then that means you're also, if you're up quite high, you're going to have to pedal further around the track than the person on the inside. So, yeah, it's a fine line between how you're feeling and where you want to be. That looked like Colin Gulick from USA.
Absolutely. That was a clear one. Easy one to pick. Gulick, the next one to go.
So yeah, Fernandez has actually been on the front for a bit. I think she likes it there. She's road fit from her road season, so out of trouble because then you might be able to almost pursuit. You can keep a consistent pace, whereas others might like to sit in and then pop out at the last second.
Wollaston from New Zealand, high on the track, should have enough speed to come over the top and not be eliminated. That is the case.
Yep, so she was on the front for quite a while, but now she's decided to go from the back. So she's now sitting in. She's going to sit on the wheel, recover during... Oh, we got Mexico eliminated.
Acevedo from Mexico. Caught out with nowhere to go, a little bit down the track, right at the back. And very quickly on to the next elimination. You can see just how difficult this race is. Heart rate goes up and then it's thick and fast every 2 laps. You're sprinting again to make sure you starve off the elimination. Wollaston again towards the back. She should be okay this time.
I reckon Egypt's in trouble.
Absolutely.
Egypt, or was it Switzerland on the inside? It's very close between them.
It
yep,
is
Egypt.
the Egyptian rider Zayed.
Egypt is being eliminated.
It's a lot easier to pick it when you're out of the race. So you can see that the pace is starting to come off. Everyone's starting to get a bit more fatigued.
Bertou from France now. She looked over the shoulder, saw there was no one else behind and desperately had to try and get up around the outside, just being hung up a little bit right on the outside of the peloton. Again, should have that speed off the final banking to come through. And we're going to see another rider eliminated, and that's Sultanova. Renita Sultanova from Kazakhstan. Peloton starting to thin out. Going right down to the very last rider. And again, with the European Championships only a few weeks ago, some of these riders have had some recent top-level competition in elimination racing, which is what you really need. Experience is so important in elimination races at this level.
Reisner's moved forward to the front since I think we've got maybe Switzerland's in trouble. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that
right
was
down the
close.
bottom. Lena Metro from Switzerland.
Yeah.
Yep, been confirmed. Nowhere to move on the inside of the bottom of the track.
Slovakia was very lucky in that one.
And as They get deep into the race like this. This is where a bit of fatigue starts to come in, and if you get a little bit lazy because you're tired, it's easy to back off after an elimination and find yourself caught right at the very back again, desperately trying to sprint up around the outside. As we can see here, once again, this is the second or third time now we've seen Berthaud trying to come through. She does get there, but it's costing her a lot of energy.
That was Japan, Uchino. She didn't look like she had much in her to fight that last one. Here we have Wollaston, she's sitting on the back. She still looks good though, doesn't she? She's moving around a lot. She just goes from the front to the back, but she looks like she knows what she's doing and she's in control. So Berthaud now moving up, sensing the danger.
High on the track though, isn't it? Costs so much energy to come right up around the outside, 4, 5, 6 wide. Sprinting each time, and I think right down through in the middle there is the rider from Japan, actually, Kakita.
Must be a trade team.
Trade team, yeah, absolutely. Mayo Kakita.
It's like I haven't seen that skin suit.
It's gone deep into the race though, so good performance
yeah,
so far.
Really good. This is when it starts to hurt. 2, 4, 6, 7 riders left.
Playmakers from the Netherlands on the front. Haven't seen much of her. She stayed right up at the very pointy end, so showing her strength. And Fidanza fighting to stay in this race. We've seen her far too often, unfortunately.
Germany's Reisner.
Germany, eliminated.
Lena Reisner, the next one to go.
Germany, eliminated. Jakarta, elimination.
6 riders remain. And Lena now just getting the message that she was eliminated that time. Another elimination lap with Fidanza at the back, the world stretch race and team pursuit champion, showing some good strength. Wollaston also moving up, and you said that she's been going from the front to the back, and then easily Wollaston coming around the outside as well. So she's showing really good form. Nia Evans fighting off as well.
Bachikova. It was a risky spot with a lap to go. Stuck on the inside. That's the problem. She had her head down, wasn't really looking around, and was sitting on the inside, so she wasn't able to escape and get out of that position. So
a little bit more room to move now. With only 5 riders, you can see the gaps opening up a little bit. The tactics really starting to show between these riders. Wollaston coming up around the outside from New Zealand. Playmakers still continuing to be on the front, and it's Fidanza in a bit of trouble, but Berthaud from France stuck with nowhere to go on the inside. Nia Evans and Fidanza over the top, and Berthaud from France. Next one to go.
This is a fun picking game, isn't it? Trying to work it out as early as you can.
Well, and you can see from the trajectory and where they're going who might get caught out and where the riders are coming from behind, and that was the case there with Berthaud. But look at the gaps now. Remakers from the Netherlands with a bit of a gap. Nia Evans.
She's in control. In
second position. Then Fidanza. Wollaston from New Zealand.
Ooh, this is going to be hard for Wollaston now because it's all strung out. She's coming from behind. She has to go 3 wide around this bend.
And you can see really the body language starting to struggle. Has she got the speed to come over the top of Fidanza? Very close. She does indeed, though.
Fidanza.
And it is Martina Fidanza, the 23-year-old from Ponte San Pietro in Italy. The next rider to go. Then there were 3. So the medals are now left on the track between these 3 riders. What's the order going to be? We've seen the Dutch rider, Rainmaker's really showing some strength in front.
She's given up. She's done. Tapping out.
There you go. Elimination lap next time.
Ooh, look at this. This is exciting. So this means that next lap, no one is out because Ryan Makers has decided she's had enough.
And let's hope that these 2, and I think they have realised it.
Yeah.
So sometimes when they just look and see there's only 2 on the track, they think, well, maybe this is us up for an elimination, but that's not the case. So Nia Evans comes to the front. Rainmakers is the rider from the Netherlands that will be eliminated this time when she gets to the finish line. And 2 laps to go now for Nia Evans and Ali Wollaston.
Yes, and this is exciting. This is great. A lot of the time people are so tired they can't do a lot, so they're getting very tactical, which means that they're feeling okay. They're switched on. It's going to be a battle between the enduro and the sprinter.
And Nia Evans it is, the current world points race champion that comes into the final lap first, but look at the speed of Ali Wollaston. She looked very comfortable throughout this race, going from the front to the back to the front again, and when she's really needed to be at the front, which is on the final lap, she's there. Gold medal going to Ali Wollaston. That was incredible. That final lap, the speed, the acceleration that she had after such a tough race, that's exceptional performance there from Ali Wollaston.
Absolutely. She had the legs. As you said before, she was zipping forwards and backwards. Her legs looked good. She had a smaller cadence than Nia. Nia looked a bit bogged down. She had a bigger gear on. And yeah, she got Nia from behind, so she ran at her. She had the speed. She popped over, but by the time Nia looked back, going into bend number 1, I think she just didn't have enough speed, so it was game over from then. So this is Wollaston's second gold medal of the night. So she's a bit of a superstar, I'm not going to lie. I was really looking forward to seeing what she could do at the Commonwealth Games earlier this year, but she broke a collarbone a week before at the Tour de France with her team Next Gen Insurance. So yeah, I think this young lady is going to be a name that we will all be very used to very shortly.
Well, with those team pursuit efforts in the legs, it's incredible to see her bounce back so quickly and be so fast in that final lap. And
yes,
it's not against soft competition. It was the World Points Race champion, Nia Evans, that she got the better of in that final lap. So fantastic riding there from Ali Wollaston. And I agree with you, Nettie, big things to come from this young lady.
She was also the individual pursuit world champion in 2019. So she's yeah, got a nice palmares.
So Wollaston ahead of Evans and Rijmakers from the Netherlands. We saw her on the front for so much of the race. A little bit too far in the end. She gave up before it got it to her elimination. As we go further down, and we see Sophie Edwards from Australia down in 18th place. And best wishes to the 2 riders that did crash. Let's hope that they weren't too badly hurt and they can continue this competition. And if not, then they're not too far from getting back to full speed again. Not too long now until we get to hear from our double gold medalist on the night of competition here, Ali Wollaston. What a great performance in both the team pursuit and now backing that up here in the elimination race. That was a dominant performance from the New Zealander.
Congratulations. How does it feel to win here at the UCI Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia?
Yeah, it feels pretty amazing. I think I just came off the back of a really, really good team pursuit. We just, me and the girls just went out and won. So that was a huge confidence boost going into the elimination race. And yeah, I'm really proud to just execute the race the way I wanted. And yeah, the outcome's just a bonus on top, really.
Can you walk us through, and what is the key moment in the race for you today?
I think just staying out of trouble. There was a few crashes out there today, so to stay clear of those was really good. And I think I just found myself at the front at really critical times. And yeah, really started playing the game with around like 8 riders to go and just trying to pick people off, the strong riders. And I think that, yeah, really put the pressure on some of the stronger riders. So yeah, no, I'm really happy with that.
Thank you, and congratulations on your win today.
Thank you very much.
Looks as fresh as a daisy, Ali Wollaston.
I know.
2 gold medals on the night's racing, so wow, that's a great performance. Men's team sprint finals up next for the UCI Track Nations Cup here in Jakarta. Hot and humid conditions and absolutely scintillatingly hot on the track itself. So the riders, they've got to back up. It's really tough with so many rounds, and the team sprint, such an incredible effort to burst out of the start box and go as hard as you possibly can, quickly try and recover, and then come back once again to do it all over. And this time it's for the medals. Japan versus France for the bronze medal, and we'll see the Netherlands versus the current world champions Australia racing for gold and silver. Spectacular setting for the Nations Cup, the first of the season. And Jakarta International Velodrome really is a fantastic venue. I did mention this earlier, if you weren't listening. Several of the riders have made a note of just how smooth this velodrome is. It really is in pristine condition. It's only 5 or 6 years old. It was built for the Asian Games in 2018. And while it hasn't had an enormous amount of use, it has stayed in this amazing condition. Super smooth track, showing some really fast times as well.
Followed by the rush for gold.
So we have Nagasako, we have Ota, and we have Obara. So that is the same lineup from the round before.
And for the French, we have the last rider to go. We've seen him, you made a mention of it, Nettie, just how fast he was able to finish things off. And that's Rayan Halal. just coming up into second position is Sebastien Vigier. And Florian Glenbow just getting onto the bike to get the team up and going, start position. Nagasato in the starting gate. Big job to be the first rider for each of the teams. And Nagasako hasn't been super quick, but it's been Ota and Obara that have really brought it home. So expect the Japanese to be slightly down perhaps. The current Asian continental champions after the first lap. Big question, can they bring it home again? They've done it several times throughout these rounds. This one really counts. This is for the bronze medal. France versus Japan. Nagasako on the left, Greenbow on the right. Both teams up and going as quickly as they possibly can. Maximum efforts, and we'll get the first indication of who's the fastest out of the start gate as they come through the first half lap. And it's a quick start from Japan this time, so they really are doing it just when they need to for the medals.
Absolutely. Japan was 1.15 faster than France in the round before, so they'll be looking to get a little bit more. There's nothing in it.
And France coming back a little bit in this second lap. Now 1 lap to go, and it goes to the side of the French. So the French are slightly up. Halal has been incredibly quick in the final lap each time he's been on the track. And can Obara hold him off, though? The gap's opening up. France are going to take the bronze medal. What a performance. 0.3 of a second in the end. And it's that man once again finishing it off for them, Rayan Halal, with an incredibly rapid final lap to get them the bronze medal.
Yeah, the Japanese were faster in their first lap, and then the French just brought it home. So neck and neck in the middle were there, and then Halal just he's on ski.
He puts on the afterburners when it's his time to fly. Absolutely, pedal to the metal and flies around the track on that final lap.
Yeah, they were 0.3 of a second faster in that round. So that was really, really fast. Really cool to see.
Next heat.
First of our medals for the sprinters, and it's the bronze medal going to France. And Florian really kicking it out of the start blocks. Not quite as quick as we saw from Nagasako on the other side of the track, but it's also a lot about the delivery speed. So at the end of your lap that you're contributing to the team, making sure that you're accelerating into that changeover to give your teammate the best possible of chance to be slungshot at full speed.
Yeah, and you can see his line. He's trying to hold that black line. He's done this many, many times before in training. He's got the aerodynamic position, keep the head down. All of this aerodynamics makes a big difference across the line. And when you're looking at, percentages of seconds, it's so important.
And with legs as muscular as that, no wonder he's as quick as he is. And former compatriot there, Benoit Vertu, who does coach the Japanese team, but former champion himself racing for France back in the day. Race for the gold medal now. Men's team sprint final. The Netherlands versus the world champions from Australia. So the European champions versus the world champions. And this is going to be amazing. The Australians were the fastest in qualifying. Then it was the Dutch in the first round that got the better on the timesheet. Now it's about who's the fastest after 3 tough races.
Yep, 42.148 versus 42.3. So it's going to be good.
Netherlands versus Australia. Huge efforts off the start line here from both the teams. Oh, and a false start, so they are going to bring them back. And that was a really late indication of a false start. They were a good quarter of a lap into the race at a maximum effort. That could play a big role now when they come back and reset to go again.
Yeah, that was quite late. Normally it's within the first quarter lap. So, that was unexpected, but something's happened. Not sure what just yet. But yeah, Lee Hoffman was off for a good start for the Australians.
Looking at the bike, the toe strap, some issues there with the pedal and the strapping. I think he's broken the strap, Lee Hoffman, off the start line. So Lee Hoffman, the starter for Australia. And you can see they're just going into the first bend now, still maximum effort. And you can see just there a little bit of movement. So some sort of issue with the pedal for Lee Hoffman. But again, really late time. And we see typically only in the first couple of metres that they do indicate that there's been a problem, but obviously a malfunction or a braking, just the amount of power that Lee Hoffman putting through the pedals has broken the toe strap. So quick readjustment. Hopefully they can get that fixed as quickly as possible. Well, drama here at the Velodrome in Jakarta.
I don't reckon that was Hoffman. I reckon that's Tom Cornish. That's why you couldn't see it in the footage, because I reckon it was the third wheel. I'm pretty sure it was Tom Cornish.
Possibly. Yeah, Cornish third wheel, Matt Richardson in second wheel, and Lee Hoffman in third. So that's Matty Richo.
Yep, so it was one. Okay. Yeah, because that was impossible to see. They didn't. Yeah.
Well, our cameras may have been focusing on.
Oh no, there's Hoffman.
First wheel. Clearly a problem.
It was
and
Hoffman.
Going to reset. So
Okay.
this is Lee Hoffman. Okay.
Weird.
Here we go. The world champions versus the European champions. Time to reset. And that was tough. It's going to be tough for both teams, but I guess it's somewhat fair. They did signal the gun and the finish of the race. So they got the sound of it was the same time. So not really unfair on either team in terms of how long it did take to signify that it was going to be a false start. But I tell you what, the legs have got to be sore.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, as you say, everyone's in the same boat. That's the good thing. But some riders do well after. Well, and no one probably does well after an impulsive effort like that. About 10 minutes before we have to do it again. But yeah, I think the starters are going to be the ones that will feel it the most. Depending on how long it takes to get this sorted, you might see the riders jump off and jump on the rollers, but they look like it's going to be a fast turnaround. Yeah, it's frustrating for everybody, but it's just something that's just part of the sport. And yeah, hopefully we can see them up and riding soon. Really interesting though. It was really hard to see.
It was. Both teams improved significantly from the qualifying round to the first round. The Australians were the fastest qualifiers, but then the Dutch came through with a quicker time in the first round, the previous round. And there has been a change in the Dutch team as well. Jeffrey Hoogland coming in to be the third rider for the European champions.
I just got a message saying it was Tom Strap. And
it was Tom.
Yeah, it was Tom Strap. So it was out of that shot. That's why we couldn't see it. So that's Tom there in third wheel.
Matthew Richardson in second, and Lee Hoffman, the man we were focusing on as the starter.
Was fine. Yeah, I thought it looked like a good start from him.
On the other side of the track, it's Roy Vandenberg that will be getting them out of the start gate. Harry Leveresen in the middle position, and Jeffrey Hoogland in third. 5 seconds to go. Final of the men's team sprint here at the Nations Track Cup in Jakarta. Australia versus the Netherlands, and they are cleanly underway thus far. Hoffman doing everything he can to get himself up and going. The Netherlands had the fastest first lap in the previous round, 17.29. Let's see how they go this time through.
So Australia are 0.148 behind the Netherlands. The Netherlands have the advantage, but they're coming back. It's quite close now, 0.058.
Slightly slower first lap that time for the Netherlands, but they are just in front, really close. But there has been an issue. There's a big issue for the Dutch team, though. We can see them swinging up, and their third rider had a big problem. So they've got to the line with a lap to go in the front, but it's the Australians that are continuing. The third rider for the Netherlands having a major issue, and that has gifted the win to Australia. So really unfortunate to see what happened there to the Netherlands, and it was Jeffrey Hoogland that had the problem as the third rider.
What happened? I didn't see it.
Well, that's the question, isn't it? I don't think he got on the wheel and realised that it wasn't going to happen for them. So the Australians were behind, the Dutch super quick and perhaps a little bit too quick for Jeff Hoogland. So some controversy here at Jakarta and at Edmondson.
Yeah.
Aussies coming away with the gold medal, and look at that, just
shock.
Absolute looks of shock on the faces of the Dutch.
Here you go. Let's see. This is the start. So it was all fine from the start, neck and neck. The Dutchies got out faster. Then we see the Australians come back. Then it gets really close. Okay, so that was Lee Hoffman swinging up. Matt Richardson taking over, the world champions from Australia versus the European champions from Holland.
And we can see on the other side of the track, Hoogland had already swung up the track. So there was some issue after a lap and well, just coming to the end of their first lap, or I think just after the end of the first lap. So it may have been just a clip of wheels actually from Hoogland to Harry Leveresen that caused the issue. Regardless, Australia completed the 3 laps faster than the Dutch. So they are the gold medalists. Silver medal now going to the Netherlands, but they'll be certainly disappointed that things didn't go quite the way they were hoping for, the Dutch.
Yeah, I'm very unsatisfied, Scott. I want to see what happened there, because that's very unusual. This doesn't normally happen. So, yeah, I wonder if there was a clip of wheels. Maybe he lost a bit of control. Maybe he, as you said, maybe he thought, nah, it's not going to happen, but that's unlikely. When you got this team that works so hard together, you wouldn't think that they wouldn't pull out unless there was something wrong.
So just pushing on the back wheel there, on the back tyre, and you can see now, you can see the body language that something's happened and the back wheel skipped out, because as Harry Leveresen was coming to complete his lap, then it was really strange actually to see Hoogland already had swung up the track. Something had happened, lost the back end.
Okay, so this is the swinging out.
So that's the end of the first lap.
Yeah.
Okay, so first lap completed. Leveresen with Hoogland in 3rd position. And then somewhere through here, there's been an issue with the back wheel. You can just see there's something happened to Jeffrey Hoogland's bike.
Yeah.
And he has then swung up the track.
Oh, no.
Let me know, Oli.
So I think he feels he's had a flat tyre, or it's a spongy...
Yeah, the wheel could have been on an angle.
Oh, well, so disappointment there for the Dutch, but the world champions come away with the gold medal. So too far in to do a restart. That's the other point. So you can get a restart early on, but mechanical mishap like that after a lap and a half or so into the race. The other side of it, luckily he stayed upright.
Yeah.
There really was an issue with the back wheel or the tyre. At those speeds, these monsters of men could go down very heavily. So great to see Hoogland actually stay on the bike.
Yeah, and he's used to riding at incredible speeds, and he knows when his bike is good and when it's not. So it's obviously was not worth the risk. So it's a shame, because I would have loved to have seen how that would have finished, because they were so close together. But the Aussies, they've pulled off the win. At the end of the day, it's a team effort. It's the riders, it's the staff, it's the equipment. So the Aussies were better today, and I think it's nice. It's nice for them to get their first win in the rainbow colours. But yeah, not the way that they would have liked to have done it ahead of the European champs, but I'm sure there'll be a lot more showdowns throughout the rest of this season.
Absolutely. So the rainbow stripes on the bodies of the Australians. Great performance to win the team sprint here. Let's hear from the Aussie champions.
How does it feel to win the race today at UCI Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia?
Oh, yeah, it feels pretty good. I didn't even know that we won. The timer wasn't working, so first I found out. But yeah, it feels pretty amazing. We've had a big day out here, and we've done everything we wanted to execute and perfectly, so we can't complain.
How was your preparation for this race, since you had 2 races today?
Yeah, it's very early in the season, so me and the boys are definitely trying to find our legs, but to pull off a win so early in the season with so little training is a good place to be.
Thank you, and congratulations for your win.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Congratulations all round for the Aussies, and to pull on the rainbow stripes as world champions, always nice to then come out and win in those colours. Controversial in the end, not sure exactly what went wrong with Jeffrey Hoogland's bike, but regardless, the race is over 3 laps. First to the line at the end is the winner. The Aussies got there, so good job to them. And great to kick off their campaign now after winning last year's World Championships towards qualification for these Worlds, of course, and then on to the Paris Olympic Games next year. Team presentation not too far away now for the team sprints. And some happy German riders sitting up on the top. 4 riders they used over the 3 different heats and final.
Ladies and gentlemen,
and getting the job done. So the women's team sprint victory ceremony up next. UCI Track Nations Cup here in Jakarta, Indonesia. Thanks to Tissot Timing, who do such a fantastic job.
team sprint.
Para hadirin sekalian, perayaan penghargaan dari Tissot UCI Track Nations Cup di Jakarta, Indonesia pada nomor
Magnificent venue, and very similar, as Nettie and I both being Australians, we know the Anamirs Velodrome in Brisbane very well. This is the same builders of the track itself, and the roof structure also very similar to that velodrome in Brisbane. The shape of the velodrome is also quite similar. I always find it interesting when we talk about that, the shape of the velodrome. Most people that haven't ridden on the track think they're all the same shape, but there are subtle differences, aren't there, between all of the different tracks?
Yep, some have long straights, some have long bends, some have steep bends. Most of them are steep, but some are even steeper. There's usually variation between 43 degrees and 46. Some have steep transitions. So this one looks pretty smooth, pretty standard for a bike track, but it looks really nice. Nice light as well. It's not actually as hot inside the velodrome as I was expecting. I thought we were going to be sweating, although we are in a slightly different area.
Well, it is a little bit cooler here tonight as it was yesterday as well. But Great Britain taking away the bronze medal in the women's team sprint.
Lauren Bell, Sophie Capewell and Emma Finucane, you said?
Finucane,
from Wales.
Yes, the Welsh lass, Emma Finucane. So bronze medal to them. You can see smiling faces. They're very happy with the results. So many teams in the qualifying for both men's and women's team sprints. A lot in the team pursuit as well, but more so in the team sprint. So a lot of depth in all of the nations. And they're also signifying how important this First Nations Cup is for the season. Silver medal going to the People's Republic of China. Gao, Bao and Huan.
They did ride with an extra rider in one of their rounds, so they utilised the 4-rider rule, so that means that they had an extra pair of fresh legs coming in for one of the rounds, so that can make a big difference depending on what type of rider you've got.
Some fantastic sprinters coming out of China. They have so much depth. I think the biggest challenge the Chinese Cycling Federation has is just coordinating all of the different provinces, because they certainly have the depth of talent and the coaching staff. So no surprise to see China up on the podium. And likewise, no surprise to see the world champions also coming away with the victory. A little bit slower in the qualifying. Then they changed the format. They brought in Leah Friedrich, sorry. And then super fast in the next 2 rounds to come away with the gold medal. Paulina Grabosch, first one to get her gold. They're getting used to this now. A couple of World Championship victories between them. And Emma Hinze here also winning Kieran and sprints at the World Championships as well as team sprints. So getting a very nice collection of gold medals in her cupboard at home.
Mm-hmm. And this is the youngster 22-year-old Alyssa Katriana Propster. So she was in the qualifying for the girls today. So lovely to see her stepping up into the German team and joining a very star-studded team.
And great camaraderie. I do follow several of these riders on social media, and they seem to have a great time in training camps. It's a real great group, great atmosphere amongst them, and that just breeds success. They're happy to be with each other, they work for each other, there's a lot of commitment, respect amongst the team, and that leads to success. Germany, People's Republic of China and Great Britain, gold, silver and bronze in the first of the Nations Cup team sprints for the ladies this season. How was your speed as a rider? I think early on you were doing a bit of sprint sort of riding, weren't you? You were more of an endurance rider towards the end, but how did you enjoy the short stuff? You were known as a fast track endurance rider, though.
Yeah, I started out as a sprinter. So I went to Junior Worlds for track sprint. So I versed Christina Vogel, who was a German sprinter, and she created an amazing legacy through the German ranks. So I think that riders like Christina and Miriam Welter, I think they've inspired this next group of 4 that have come through. But yeah, I did a little bit of that stuff when I was younger, but then I think I lost a little bit of motivation afterwards, and I was the only sprinter from Australia at the time, and I saw the team shooters coming in and having a great time, and I think I wanted the social life, and so I joined them, and yeah, then went off to the road as well. So here we have men's team sprint final class. I think we spoke about this before. Australia in one. Now it's gone.
Australia, the Netherlands, with that mishap in the final.
That's right.
We're ahead of Australia at the time when that happened, so it would have been really interesting to see just how things finished up on that final lap, where it would have been Cornish versus Hoogland, but that's not the way it turned out. Australia got there, the Netherlands didn't, so fantastic to see them come away with a good win. Getting ready now that's Blake Agnoletto just coming onto the screen, youngster from Bendigo in Victoria, Australia. It's about an hour and a half north of the capital of the state, Melbourne, and he's coming out to race the elimination. Was in the team pursuit earlier, and Jules Hesters, one of the up-and-coming Belgian riders. He's the top of the board there, and we also have the current world points race champion, Ian Yuri Harvick, in the race from the Netherlands. So he'll be one that the riders will be looking out for. Also, Theo Reinhardt from Germany, very experienced rider. Scartazzini from Italy, multiple medals at European and World Championships level as well. Hasn't quite got a gold just yet, but he's one of the riders that could certainly put himself right up there in the hunt for the medals here in the men's elimination. That's coming up next.
Could get better at talking and reading screens, I reckon. It's a skill. You're very talented, Scott McGrory.
Talking about sprinters that went to endurance, like yourself and Edmondson, we just saw the Greek rider there, Kazakis, that did exactly that. Started out as a pure sprinter, and in his early 30s now. It does seem like he's been around for a long time, but he's become a very handy endurance rider.
I thought you were going to say he was very good at
Ladies and gentlemen, we are getting ready for men's elimination
He
race.
may be excellent at that as well.
Yes, he's been around for a while, hasn't he?
Men's elimination race.
32, maybe 33 years of age. Polikakis, Christos.
Thomas Boudard from France, races on the road. He was world champion 2014 in the Omnium, and then went away, did a bit of road, and now he's come back, part of the team pursuit squad.
And there's Blake Agnoletto, the youngster. And Glenn O'Shea is the national coach for the track endurance bunch races. So they have split the coaching staff for Australia. Tim Decker looking after the timed events, like the team pursuit. And Glenn O'Shea is looking after the bunch races like this, the Omni and the elimination, point race, etc.
So this is the tense part of the elimination, where you're all sitting up on the fence. You've got, or if you're on the bottom, you've got a coach or a staff member holding you, and you're standing there or sitting on your bike waiting for the commissaire to walk past with the whistle. But the commissaire likes to take their time, and they walk all the way to the back of the bunch, and then they blow it from the back. So it's a fast start because everybody's fighting for position. You don't want to get stuck at the back, and it's usually a really, really fast, first 10, 20 laps as everyone gets settled.
It is a real fight for position, isn't it? They do have a couple of neutral laps before they do go to the first of the elimination laps, and any of the riders that have lined up, and when we look down, there's Jules Hesters, I mentioned him earlier. So really well credentialed are the Belgians in this style of racing. Madison's in particular because of the history of the 6-day season. There's the current world champion, Ian Yuri Harvick from the Netherlands. Another rider that's good at this type of racing. Nick Stoppler is the coach, just about to push him to get him going. You can see how it's a desperate push to get them going because it is a fight for position right from the start. Even though this first lap is neutral, you don't get going until they hear the sound of the gun. And for riders like Blake Agnoletto right at the very back, it's a massive disadvantage to be starting the elimination at a Nations Cup level right at the very back. As they come through now all together and the race is underway. We'll see the next or the first of the elimination laps. When they come back around, they'll hear the sound of the bell. Agnoletto, the man in focus, with all the work to do to get himself up and around and not be the first one eliminated. And look at the speed. The average speed of this peloton already absolutely flat chat, sprinting around this first lap. And Agnoletto with a bit of work to do if he wants to stay in this race. He can fan right up around the outside, and then the focus will go right down to the inside of the track. Agnoletto gets around.
Indonesia.
And it is, unfortunately for the home crowd, the Indonesian rider, Kasuma.
Indonesia.
Great to see the Indonesians here racing, but it's unfortunate that he's the first one to go.
So we have Blake still, he's in a risky spot. He's had to shoulder his way through.
He did. Real bump of the shoulders there from Agnoletto.
Egypt. He's in the risky spot. Oh, and yep, that's Egypt.
So it's Ahmed Saad.
Number 18.
He's the next one to go. And you can just see just the speed, Nettie, of the men's peloton in particular, just how fast they were going. That it's so important to have good position right from the start so you're not wasting too much energy.
It is. We've got Tobias Hansen up the top. He was tucked under, but now he's made sure he's on the outside so he can move up and forward.
Woodrick from Switzerland, the man in trouble now, right at the very back, and he has realised that already before they came to the line. So Emmanuel is the next one to go.
William Perrett's in a bit of a risky spot. It's from Great Britain on the inside, so he's going to have to back his way out and go around or work his way up through the middle. There's one lap to go.
And it's nice and easy on the inside, isn't it? Because you're in the full draft of the peloton. It's the easiest position to be, but it's so simple to get yourself caught out. You can see Perrett now look over the shoulder. He realises he's in big trouble, and look over the other shoulder as well. Nothing to do. And that was all because the lap earlier, he got himself down underneath and with nowhere to go.
It's often set up from about a lap to go. Because people don't want to let people through. They hold their gaps. They make sure that once someone's in a risky spot, they don't let them through. So, is Poland nice? He's having another crack.
Prokopushin it is. Philip Prokopushin high up around the outside. He should get a run down off the banking to keep himself in. And Hesters could be in trouble.
Oh, it is Hesters.
So Jules Hesters definitely caught out by the finishing speed of Prokopushin from so high. He was right up at the fence coming around the final bend. Oh no, they haven't given it to Hesters. For me, clearly was the one out. Oh, well. There you go.
Well, maybe, different angle. Who knows?
Yeah, they've got Daniil Evdokomov.
Live to see another day.
Well, Hesters needs a little bit better than that if he wants to stay in the race. He's still lungering down towards the back. Prokopushin this time is the one to go out. So Filip Prokopushin from Poland. Big effort last time to stay in, but that's what cost him this time. He didn't have the energy to back it up.
Mm-hmm. That's it. If you're pushing too hard too early and you don't change your position or you don't come up with a new plan, then it does make life quite difficult.
Rotenteni in a bit of trouble now. Last man up high around the outside. And look at this, Yuri Harvick in a bit of trouble. Also the Canadian right down the very bottom. So Harvick, the current points race world champion, comfortably keeps himself in the race. And I think it's right down the very bottom on the inside.
It's Canada.
Gillemets, Matthias Gillemets. Nowhere to go on the inside.
Yep.
It's enticing, isn't it, to be down on the inside because it's the shortest way around the track. It's the easiest amount of effort, but this is what happens. You get caught out. You can't accelerate to get through. Yeah,
it depends on the track. So if the finish line is actually quite a long way into the track, if it's a long straight, then it means there's more time for people to rush past at the end. So here we have USA.
Eddie Huntsman.
USA.
Yeah. So Huntsman out. Next one to be eliminated.
So you go from being halfway up the bunch on the inside thinking you're fine, but then all of a sudden things change very quickly. And the people who are in desperate positions, they move really quick. So
we just saw the national coach for the USA, Australian Gary Sutton, and this type of race back in his day, he was an excellent points race rider and elimination rider. So a lot of experience, but you can't hand that over to the riders once they get out onto the track. Big move from Christos Volokakis to keep himself out of trouble. He's been right at the very top.
Yeah, it was hard to pick.
Focusing on Martorell from Spain.
Colby Langer, yeah.
Colby Langer, it is, trade team from the United States. So right down the very bottom, Colby Langer. So Martorell, big effort up around the outside. And has to do it once more now.
Alright, inside.
Bit of push and shove again from Blake Agnoletto I saw over Scartazelli.
Yeah, I reckon it was Volokakis.
Waiting for the official confirmation.
Yeah, the pace is starting to drop. Right, it's starting to get a bit more tired.
No, so they are no decision that last time around. And so they did neutralise the last lap, now they're back into it again. And this is one of the challenges with the elimination is sometimes there is confusion if they can't quite in an instant work out who was the last rider across the line, or if that rider that is eliminated stays in for too long. And I think that was the case there with Colby, that after he was eliminated, he stayed in for the next elimination lap, which really does make it confusing for all of the riders. Oh, very tight across the line. 4 riders across. This will be a tight one to decide as well.
Oh, Blake looks like it was him.
Agnoletto.
Australia.
Let's see, look at that. A couple of centimetres in it. But Blake Agnoletto, the next one to go, the young Australian.
Volokakis off the back a little bit. He's coming in with speed. He'll be all right.
And look, the former sprinter bouncing out of the saddle up around the outside to keep himself in. But if he does that too many times, it's really going to cost him in energy towards the end.
Spain.
And this time we do see the Spanish rider, Eric Martorell, next one to go. So he put in a couple of big efforts. And again, we see how that fatigues the riders and they get eliminated only a couple of times later. Tobias Hansen on the front of the peloton, looking fairly comfortable, the Danish rider. And Volokakis once again, Christos Volokakis from Greece in a bit of trouble. Now it does appear down the bottom of the track, I think he's used all of his matches.
There he goes.
Volokakis.
Not a bad effort.
Greece being eliminated.
And he was a top-line international sprinter, so let's not understate it. He was a pure sprinter, and you can see he is much thicker, much more muscular than these other endurance riders. So he's gone a fair way into this elimination race, so good on him.
All right, Scartazzini's on the back. He's playing with fire.
Silver medalist in the Madison at the 2021 World Championships. Let's see how he goes on his own on the track this time. Part of the Team Pursuit team with the Italians, and it's not going to be good enough.
Oh, that was surprising. I thought he was going to speed, but no, left it a bit late.
Michele Scartazzini from Italy, the next man to go. No rest. Only every 2 laps, the elimination lap, it keeps coming thick and fast.
João Matias from Portugal on the back at the moment, but he looks all right.
He does look comfortable. Yeah. He can tell that he should be able to, and only just, I think, right down the very bottom. I think that's...
Was it Roten? Or was it
Vons?
Oh, it was. He's just noticed.
Jan Vons from the Czech Republic.
Yep.
So he was the rider right down the very bottom with nowhere to accelerate to get himself across the line. Theo Reinhardt from Germany, second position. He's one of the pre-race favourites here. And see also George Jackson from New Zealand, tucked on the inside.
He's doing really well. He's a youngster with the mullet flapping out in the breeze.
Bit of an issue that I can see from...
Denmark. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so Tobias Hansen, the next one to go. But I saw some hand gestures from Jules Hesters from Belgium. So twice he took his hands off the bar to protest something within the race. So keep an eye on the Belgian rider to see what's just going on right there.
Rotem Tene's off the back, so none of these riders that are in the shot will be out, whether they know that or not.
Yeah, they can tell. Well, hopefully they do. And it does look like they're sprinting, thinking perhaps this is an elimination for them, but no one from this group will go out because it is Rotem Tene that will come across the line just about now, actually, off camera. He's the rider eliminated this time.
Oh, yeah, that's not Rotem Tene. That is a Japanese rider, I think, from one of the mixed teams.
Next elimination. 8 riders left in the race. And the 2 Japanese riders, one from the trade team, one from the national team on the front. And we focus towards the back. And once again, the Portuguese rider.
Oh, he's moved up on the duckboard, though.
Oh, I think it was...
I reckon he might get in trouble for that. You're not allowed to increase or improve your position by riding on the duckboard on the inside. So there we go. That's why. But it's tempting.
Yeah, well, George Jackson be happy because he was the last rider across the line. But disqualified, of course, was Matias.
All right, Thomas Badat at the back of the bunch with the fluoro helmet. He will come with a bit of speed. Whether he's got enough, that's the question.
And if he does have enough...
Reinhardt headbutting. Looks like Reinhardt's out.
It is Theo Reinhardt. You can see, look over both shoulders just to see if he was last or not. And disappointment for there. He looked like he was going really strong, just caught in a bad position. And this is Tobias Hansen coming off the track. He'll be joined very soon by Theo Reinhardt, who was second in the European Elimination Championships only a couple of... last year, I think it was. He was second last year at the European Championships.
All right, this one's going to be interesting.
6 riders remain, and it is down the bottom, George Jackson.
Not a bad effort. Very impressive.
That was a good ride from the youngster from New Zealand. And again, backing up after riding the team pursuits as well. Many of these riders have, but he was racing for medals, so that was a great performance from the youngster.
All right, bell's ringing again. Thomas Badat from France on the back. The Japanese, there's 2 Japanese riders still in there.
Look over the shoulder there from Jules Hesters. Realise one rider is still behind. And a lot of focus on Thomas Badat. Can he get over the top? And no, he won't. Eliminated this time. So down to 4 riders. Hesters survives. 2 riders from Japan, so great riding from both of them. Also the points race world champion in Yuri Harvick, who has decided to go through and to the front.
Jules Hesters straight onto it, leaving a nice gap in the slipstream.
And Kuboki is not being able to join these 3. So these 3, they'll comfortably get themselves through. And off the back is the Japanese national team rider Kuboki. There he is. And he's had enough. Still half a lap to go to the elimination. But he's called it quits, and that will give these 3 in front just that little bit of extra time to recover. A couple of deep breaths, try and bring the heart rate down. So in terms of time, they're getting a little bit more rest than they would have had previously.
I didn't recognise it, but it's Aya Hashimoto is the Japanese rider still remaining. Oh, that was close. Did you see that?
Ooh, bit of a protest now because of that as well from...
Aya went up on the inside of Yuri.
Yeah, Yuri Harvick not happy. We'll see what the judges determine from this, so we'll wait and see the official results. But Harvick will definitely be the next rider last across the line. We'll see.
So
no, they have said Harvick, so
yeah.
Yuri Harvick is gone.
If Harvick was outside of the sprinter's lane before Hashimoto went into it, before Harvick went back down, then it's okay. But if he was already in it when Hashimoto went underneath him, then that's when Hashimoto would be in trouble. But here we have the final sprint between Hashimoto.
Here's Hesters, it is, that comes to the final lap in front. Can Hashimoto close it down? He's in the slipstream, and Hesters, you can see the deceleration as Hashimoto flies up around the outside. And he flew under the radar for most of the race, came to the front just when it counted. And Aya Hashimoto comes away with the elimination win here at the UCI Nations Cup in Jakarta. Great performance, very similar finish as what we saw in the women's as well. The winner coming away with a super quick sprint at the end.
Wow, I actually didn't realise it was Hashimoto in disguise, which is normally in the Japanese national colours. So he has a lot of pace on him. He was enduro, and then he actually went away and did some keirin racing. So he did a bit more sprint work, and as you can see, I think the muscles are a bit more defined, and you could see that in that final sprint. He had a lot of explosive speed. And actually throughout the elimination as well, whenever he wanted to move, he was able to move quite quickly. So he's very happy with that one.
Oh, absolutely. What a performance. And what a way to finish things off. Controversial, though. We did see Jules Hesters. And here we can see now. So Yuri Harvick is up the track. And it was tight. It was tight, but he was definitely... Ooh, and a real touch of shoulders as well. So Yuri Harvick not only upset that the position got taken away, but upset that he was almost crashed by Hashimoto. But it was deemed fair. He did get underneath Harvick before Harvick came back under the red line.
Yeah, it was pretty close, but yes. And then the problem is Aya also had too much momentum, so he had nowhere to go.
No brakes on these bikes.
Exactly. So because Hesters was in front of him, he wasn't able to pop out, hence why he leant into Harvick. So you can see how it all unfolds. Luckily, they're very talented bike riders, even at the end when they're fatigued, so they were able to hold it up, and everyone's got their skin on, which is a plus. But congrats to Aya, who finished it off.
Happy chappy. And you can see the camaraderie amongst the Japanese as well. So Kuboki willing and on the victory for Hashimoto. So great support between the Japanese riders, one riding for the national team, the other riding for a registered trade team. And that was Hashimoto who came away with the win. Happy chappy, good racing, competitive racing as well. Bit of argy-bargy, shoulder barges, but it just shows just how desperate these riders are to get the wins. Final result, Hashimoto ahead of Hesters and Harvick. Kuboki, making 2 riders in the top 4 for Japan. Gee, they've come on strong in the endurance field They've been good sprinters for a long time, but the Japanese really have come on strong in all of the endurance races as well. Von's in 11th, Scartazzini in 12th, Agneletto a little bit further down, Reese Britton, one of the early riders out for the Great Britain. And what great racing. Let's go down and have a talk to our champion from the elimination, Hashimoto. Just a little technical hiccup there. We didn't get to hear from Aya Hashimoto, unfortunately, but Wiji, what a performance. And you can see just how happy he is, and both he and Kuboki also top 4 riders, 2 in the top 4 for Japan. So great performances from them. I did mention how they've got such a rich history in sprint racing. Of course, that comes from the tradition of the professional Kirin scene. But they've also had a splattering of great endurance riders, and that seems to have come on a lot stronger as well over the last couple of seasons. So great to see them. 2 more presentations to come tonight. The first night of broadcast. Second day of competition here. The first day was full of team pursuit qualifying for the men and women. But here at the Jakarta International Velodrome, this is the first night of medals and the first night of our broadcast. 3 days of competition. Thick and fast, the racing will be coming over the next couple of days, and the riders themselves will be extremely fatigued with very short gaps that they have to try and come back and back up for the next event that they are performing in. World-class venue in Jakarta, and hopefully it does see a lot more development in this part of the world, just creating opportunity for the Indonesian riders to get on the velodrome. Once they've given opportunity, they certainly have the population and the talents, the ability to really shine on the world scene. It's just that level of opportunity that previously they haven't been able to get a hold of, and that's what they have now with this incredible velodrome. Okay, so just before the presentation, we will have the privilege of talking to our elimination champion, Aya Hashimoto. What a great performance. Let's go down and have a listen to Aya.
Congratulations on your win today at the Jakarta UCI Track Nations Cup. How does it feel to win today?
Thank you very much. This is Jakarta track. I won Asian Championships 2 times, so this prize is very good for me. It was a really great to me. Yeah, thank you.
Impressive win. Talk us through how the strategy was for you and how did you win the race today?
My strategy is save energy. It's the first half is save energy, then is try to attractive to get to front. So it's I can win this stage. And the next 4 is Team Japan, the JCF, and many staff and coaches. So it's I won here.
Congratulations on your win. Thank you.
Always happy, always smiling, and always fast. Aya Hashimoto. What a great result. And the elimination itself, as we saw how difficult it is, but to have ridden them ourselves, Nettie, it is such a difficult event. Tactically, you have to be really astute. You have to be fast when you need to be, but also just the endurance element of it. And we saw that with, say, Volikakas in particular. As a pure sprinter, he was okay a few times, but then once you went a bit too far into the race, that's when the lack of endurance started to really fall down. So it is a real combination of so many different things that you have to be good at to win an elimination.
Yeah, so hard physically, but also technically. But I always found, as long as I didn't make the technical errors, I prefer to fail from physical rather than the technical, or you end up being super angry. It's so frustrating.
I caught out into a box underneath, with nowhere to go. It is very frustrating for the riders. The penultimate presentation, medal presentation for the first evening of our broadcast here in Jakarta. It's the men's team sprint, and finishing in slightly controversial circumstances with an issue with the Dutch riders. They were in front leading the Australians, but then Jeffrey Hoogland having some kind of issue that we're still yet to determine with his tyre or back wheel. and unable to complete the distance, gifting the gold medal to the Australians. They may have come back to win, but regardless, it gave them a much more comfortable victory than they were expecting.
Yeah, it was close. I think the Netherlands went out faster. So the Aussies qualified faster beforehand, but then the Netherlands started faster. The Aussies came back a little bit, and it was neck and neck. So yes, it would have been a very exciting finale between the current world champions and the current Olympic champions. So the Netherlands, they're wearing the Oceania bands. But they're actually the Olympic champions and the current world record holders. So not a team that you want to mess with. But yeah, nice for our Aussies to be able to win in their first race in the rainbows. But here's third place for France. They had a brilliant 3 rounds. Came home very strong after the 3 laps. So yeah, they'll be very pleased, I think.
Florian Grembeau, Sébastien Vigier and Ryan Halal, the 3 riders for France.
In second place.
And it's always a different combination in tactics and who's a fast starter, who's a fast finisher. But we said a couple of times just how quick Halal was in his closing lap each time to keep them in contention. And a bronze medal is what they came away with. So good ride by the French. The current European champions, the multiple times world champions and current Olympic champions from the Netherlands, with a silver medal here at the Nations Cup in Jakarta. Swapped out a rider throughout, so we had Timon van Loon that didn't ride in the final. Jeffrey Hoogland did come in for the final ride. Also Roy Vandenberg and Harry Leveresen, the 4 riders from the Netherlands. They've been an incredible combination over the last few years. Such a strong, talented, full of depth the Dutch team have been. And a menacing force. I know they've been intimidating to a lot of the other countries, just how dominant they have been in this discipline and in the sprint and Keirin over the last few years. But for now, gold medal, it goes to the current world champions from Australia. Such a great performance we saw from them, and us too. We can be a little bit biased here as Australians and say we're pretty proud of the boys and how well they went. Lee Hoffman, Matthew Richardson and Tom Cornish.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a mess up in the final with the restart. So I think there was an issue with Tom's strap. So Tom is closest to the screen. He was third wheel, but they managed to sort that out and get organised for the final. But then it was the Dutch riders that had the issue in the final. So it was very dramatic scenes. But here we have the Australian team, gold for the men's team sprint. They'll be very happy with that. As we said before, first race in the rainbow is always nice to get that monkey off the back. And yeah, ahead of a big program for all the boys.
Absolutely, big day of racing here. Australia, the Netherlands and France taking out the medals in the men's team sprint. Good fast racing, that's for sure. Smile on Matthew Richardson's face, and we'll see him definitely quite prominent, we think, in the sprint and the Keirin. I'm not sure if he's doing both or how they're going to mix it up. It's a real tight program, but also a great training effect if they can back up and do multiple races in the competition. But he'll certainly be one of the favourites in the sprint and all the Keirin. But Harry Leveresen will be doing everything he can to try and stop Matthew Richardson from winning the sprint over the next couple of days.
Yeah, they raced the recent Track Series League, and they went 1 for 1 on each event, the men's sprint and the Keirin. So it's very exciting to see. Yeah, we've got both the women's elimination race victory ceremony and the men's elimination race victory ceremony.
2 more presentations to come. And night of medals here in Jakarta. If the women's elimination race is the first or the penultimate of our presentations. And both finished off in really similar fashion, didn't they? The dominant performances of both gold medalists in the men's and women's was really similar. And Ali Wollaston, who took away the gold here in the women's elimination, was a stunning performance from her.
It was the young 22-year-old from New Zealand. She's signed with Next Gen Insurance. It's a pro-continental team. She signed with them halfway through 2021, and I think they did so well as a team that they almost made it to be promoted to World Tour status. So they just missed out, but I have no doubt that they will be promoted in the next year. But yeah, they're a fun young team, and I know that Ali's really enjoyed her time racing with them.
Well, the bronze medal in the women's elimination goes to Marit Rijmakers from the Netherlands. She spent a lot of time on the front of the group, just keeping herself away from the elimination zone, but then that did come back to bite right at the very end. Got herself into the medal, so it was a really strong performance from her.
Yeah, I think she can be very proud. I think she made no tactical errors. She just ran out of legs, so I think that's something you can be very satisfied with.
Silver going to Great Britain, Nia Evans, the World Points Race champion, now the silver medalist in the Nations Cup elimination. And that's no surprise. We did, right from the very start, say that Nia Evans is one of the riders we're expecting to go right through to the podium.
Yeah, she's handy on a bike, great at moving around the bunch, very smart, knows where everything is good looking, but Ali Wollaston has taken the honours tonight. She had a bit more of an active race. I think Nia, you didn't actually see much, so that means she was hidden, whereas Ali was either on the front or at the back, so she was moving around, but she was always aware. Her legs look great, but considering she's done 2 team pursuits today, so yeah, I think she'll be very happy to go home with a double gold medal.
What a golden day for Ali Wollaston. And it can go both ways, can't that? Going to the front, going back, sprinting back and forth in the elimination. It could mean that you're cruising, doing it really easy, or you're really struggling to hold position. But she, in the end, showed that she was absolutely cruising, because when it did come down to the race for the final lap between her and Nia Evans, she blasted around the outside and won comfortably. So a really strong performance from Ali Wollaston.
While they pose for another photo.
So Wollaston, Evans and Rijmakers, gold, silver and bronze in the women's elimination here in Jakarta. Mix of ages as well. Nia Evans in her 30s, and you see Ali Wollaston much younger, but both on the same trajectory and riding really strong. So one more presentation now to come, and that's for the men's elimination. Controversy at the end of that one as well. Clip of wheels almost, a bunch of shoulders. And in the end, really strong performance from Aya Hashimoto.
Ladies and gents,
So the men's elimination race victory ceremony. Here we go, the final presentation.
Tonight, the medal ceremony of the Tissot UCI Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia, awarding the men elimination.
Been a big first night of the broadcast, Nettie. 2 days to go. There's so much racing still left on the boards here in Jakarta. And we'll see these riders again as well in the next few races over the next couple of nights also.
Yep, I'll just like to apologise for my rustiness. I'm not very good under the under the pump.
That's fine, but your knowledge, you've been there not that long ago doing this level of racing, which is just fantastic for anyone listening, tuning in.
Yeah, it is quite nice on the other side, I'm not going to lie. I'm enjoying sitting up here drinking Milo, trying to stay present. But no, the racing has been really exciting. This has been a nice experience. But here's Aya, as you said, always smiling.
Always happy, that's for sure, especially when he's winning. And Juri Harvik taking out the bronze medal, World Points Race champion. And we saw the World Points Race champion in the silver medal in the women's previously in the presentation. Now it's the bronze medal for the men's World Points Race champ. Bronze medal in the men's elimination. Juri Harvik from the Netherlands. Jules Hesters with the silver medal. He was third in the European Championships a few weeks ago, now second here at the Nations Cup. So showing some really good consistency as well from a rider that's very good, very well accomplished in this style of racing, the bunch races like Madison's, point races and eliminations as we saw tonight. But the best man on the track, Aya Hashimoto. He really did dominate the race. Pretty low-key throughout the race, which showed that he did ride great position throughout, and then at the end had just so much extra speed and power to get himself around to pick up a gold medal. Riding for Team Bridgestone, trade team that are able, can ride as a national team at the World Cups, or Nations Cups I should say, or you can register a professional trade team as he has done with Team Bridgestone. And that gives a great opportunity to other riders to come in and ride for the national team or the trade team as well. So creating more opportunity for the Japanese endurance riders to have 2 options to go to Nations Cups with.
Finally, a big round of applause again for all participants and winners in today's races. Saturday and Sunday at the 2023 Tissot UCI.
Well, the first night of the broadcast here at the UCI Track Nations Cup in Jakarta, Indonesia, and this splendid velodrome has been sensational. So fast, so strong. The sprinters were super quick, the endurance riders super strong, and we're going to see them all again over the next couple of days, Annette. First night done, been fantastic. Thank you for Annette Edmondson joining me, Scott McGrory. Make sure you tune in over the next 2 days of competition. We have got so much more still to come. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to talking to you again over the next couple of days.